I'm not even gonna look at you. You gotta get a seat where you sit right in front of me.
Starting 1 minute, ladies and gentlemen, 1 minute. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 1st, 2025 meeting of the Merced City Council. We hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving holiday weekend. We're going to begin our meeting today with an invocation from Pastor Maggie from the United Methodist Church of Merced. And then after that, Councilmember DuPont will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Greetings, members of the City Council of the City of Merced. Greetings, presenters and attendees of the meeting. It is good to meet and see you. My name is Madeline Maggie Gekesgan, and I serve as the pastor of the United Methodist Church of Merced. I regard it as a privilege to open this meeting with a prayer in the Christian tradition. So whether you consider yourself to be someone who finds spiritual home in the Christian faith or who finds spiritual home elsewhere, I invite you to join me in an attitude of prayer and contemplation. Holy One of many names, Holy One of all humankind, Holy One of all creation, whom I call my Lord and my God, I ask that you breathe your presence into these council chambers. May your grace and mercy in its wideness and transcendence of human divisions enter into the hearts of the policymakers and presenters gathered here, that they may perceive the needs of the common people of the city of Merced, that they may know and come to understand the cries of the hearts of the renter and unhoused, the farm worker and the service employee, the elder and the young child, and all the many more besides, whose well-being is entrusted to them. And may knowing these needs and hearing public comments move the making of city policy and, in the final analysis, bring us closer to that state of unity, care, and well-being that we look forward to, the one which feels especially present for followers of Jesus in the Advent season. And so, in the name of God, whose incarnation I recognize in the person of Jesus Christ, and whose spirit brings me here and moves me to these words, I say, Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you both very much.
Agenda item D, roll call. Councilmember DuPont.
Present.
Harris.
Present.
Smith.
Present.
Zhang.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Boyle. Here. And Mayor Serrato.
Present.
Mayor, I'd like to remind the audience that if they wish to address the City Council, they must submit a green request to speak form located at the podium in the back of the chamber. Additionally, citizens can submit public comment to the City Council electronically no later than 1 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Comments received before the deadline will be sent to the City Council and will be part of the record and will be mentioned as part of the written petitions and communications portion of the agenda, and they will also be posted on the city's website. Material may be emailed to cityclerk@cityofmerced.gov, and any correspondence received after 1 p.m. will be distributed to the City Council and retained for the official record. Also, for those audience members who wish to hear the council meeting translated into Spanish or Hmong, please let our interpreters know.
Hello. Good evening. Buenas tardes, me llamo Mirna Zárate, soy intérprete en español. Si ocupan mi ayuda, voy a estar aquí sentada. Muchas gracias.
nhớ rằng cụ tôi tao con hồ lọc phải mi tua
cú tôi xài lụt mong đó này mà nó giờ nên là từ xa tàu lúc trong sĩ thảm mà nó xài lụt mong là chuyện chỉ của nó của xài lụt mong đó này của trong tàu.
In accordance with Government Code 54952.3, it is hereby announced that the City Council sits either simultaneously or serially as the Public Financing and Economic Development Authority, Parking Authority, and/or successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency. City Council members receive a monthly stipend of $500 by charter for sitting as the City Council, and the mayor receives an additional $100 each month as part of the adopted budget and Resolution 2024-78. The Public Financing and Economic Development Authority, Parking Authority, and successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency receive no compensation. Agenda item E, report out of closed session.
There is no report out of closed session.
Agenda item F, special presentations. F1, presentation on the Youth Jobs Training Program.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right, we'll invite Mr. Eric Serrato and his team be so kind to give us the update on our Youth Jobs Training Program.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Manager, and City Council members. My name is Valente Withdrawn from the WorkNet, Department of Workforce Investment. Today, we'll report on Merced Youth Jobs. And to keep with the spirit of this program being youth advocated, youth developed, and youth run, we have Leonardo Gaona Vasquez, who was a Merced Youth Jobs participant. He'll speak on behalf of WorkNet and then the Workforce Development Board. After his presentation, if you do have some questions, I'll make myself available along with Director Serrato and members of the board.
Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Leonardo Gaona Vasquez. I'm a first-generation student at Merced College, and as Valente mentioned, I'm a former participant of MYJ. I completed my work experience at Panaderia Guadalajara, and before I begin, I'd like to thank you guys for the opportunity to share this report with you tonight. The goal of this program is to provide City of Merced youth with a structured work readiness program and employment activities. These are not just random jobs. We provide training, workshops, and on-the-job experiences that teach punctuality, communication, teamwork, and professionalism. We highlight a career development focus by exposing youth to different industries, pairing work experience with career and education, and showing how today's job connects to tomorrow's career. We also provide a path to meaningful employment. Beyond work experience, we help youth build resumes, earn references, and connect with employers to establish career equity for their future. Coming out of the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, Merced youth were hit hard. Entry-level jobs disappeared, hiring slowed, and many people who wanted to work simply couldn't find opportunities. However, they did not stay silent. In December of 2021, a group of youth advocates went to the City Council and formally petitioned for a youth jobs program. This was the moment that sparked Merced Youth Jobs. In April of 2022, $1.025 million in funding was granted to WorkNet to design a program that would respond directly to youth unemployment and create real paid work experiences. Starting in May of 2022, a team of youth collaborated to build the framework for Merced Youth Jobs, everything from program goals to worksite operations. Essentially, this is a program that was youth advocated, youth designed, and youth ran. In November of 2022, Merced Youth Jobs opened its doors and welcomed its first wave of youth applicants. This was the moment that we saw the demand from young people eager to work, learn, and be part of something new. By June of 2023, our first cohort of 160 youth successfully completed 200 hours each in the program. That's roughly 32,000 hours of paid, hands-on learning, a clear sign that our model had worked. Because of that success, the program received an additional $1.175 million extension, allowing us to continue and expand opportunities. Fast forward to September of 2025, when the final cohort completed their work experience, bringing us to a total of 500 youth served through Merced Youth Jobs. Now that we've talked about how we got here, let's look at the program from a youth's perspective. A youth begins by applying and completing intake and orientation with our team. Here, we confirm eligibility, discuss goals, and set expectations. From there, every participant goes through work readiness training at Merced College. This part of the program is vital. Youth learn core workplace skills like punctuality, dress code, customer service, and other soft skills and work etiquette. They also gain communication skills for the workplace. In tandem with gaining these skills, participants earn college credit for the experience, building both their resume and transcript at the same time. Once youth complete training, they are matched with a WEX site, a paid work experience placement where they complete 200 total hours. These hours include 2 hours of onboarding, 16 hours of work readiness training, 4 hours of a refresher orientation, plus the bulk of time at the work site. Throughout this period, we provide supportive services to remove barriers. This includes help with clothing, groceries, transportation, such as gas cards, and even rental and utilities assistance when needed. More than anything, we want to ensure that the barriers outside the workplace don't stop youth from succeeding and reaching their career goals. Because we want this experience to be more than just clocking in and out, we set aside special funding for special activities. As a large group, we've done things like escape rooms, art nights, coffee meetups, and most recently, a trip to Discovery Kingdom in Vallejo. While these activities aren't directly workforce related, they give youth a chance to network with one another, build relationships with their peer advisors, and feel celebrated for the work they are doing. We also want to highlight some media coverage on Merced youth jobs. On the left, you'll see a feature from KVPR about Alexander, one of our youth participants at Sensory Lab. The article explains how a local cafe turned into a structured barista internship program for young people. What stands out is Alexander's quote, "It feels like home, or more like a hangout place where you can be yourself." On the right, we have images from an early video spotlight on Merced Youth Jobs featuring 2 youth participants, Silas and Joseph. In that video, they share what it meant to get their first real shot, earning a paycheck, learning a trade, and seeing a future that didn't feel out of reach. What I love about both these pieces is that they emphasize one thing, that the program works. Local media, employers, and most importantly, the youth themselves are lifting up this program as an example of how our community can show up for youth and open doors for future career opportunities. This is exactly what MYJ built, not just a job, but an atmosphere where youth feel welcome, mentored, and heard. Over the course of Merced Youth Jobs, we paid approximately $1.4 million in wages directly to youth participants. That represents roughly 73,645 total hours worked. On average, this equates to about $3,000 per youth. Breaking it down by age group, youth ages 16 to 17 earned about $16.56 per hour. Youth 18 and older earned about $17.61 per hour. Who did we serve, and what happened? At the top of the funnel, we had 1,793 applicants, almost 1,800 youth seeking an opportunity to work. From there, we were able to enroll 500 youth into Merced Youth Jobs. Out of those 500, 450 youth were placed at a local worksite where they received paid work experience. And at the bottom of the funnel is the outcome we're most proud of. 75 youth served secured employment after completing the program. Essentially, this shows a strong demand for youth for meaningful, guided access to work experience. Another small but vital part of MYJ is the ELF Fellowship Program. Out of the 500 participants we served, 31 were undocumented students. To apply, youth had to meet 3 criteria: be undocumented, reside within the city of Merced, and maintain a good academic standing. What did the program include? ELF youth attended online workshops hosted by the Education Leadership Foundation. They also completed periodic write-ups about their volunteer location. Upon completion, youth received $2,500 of stipend for 150 volunteer hours. Most of these participants were already enrolled in post-secondary education, so this stipend gave them a financial cushion to stay focused on school without worrying about making ends meet. Here is a demographic breakdown about the youth we served. On the left, you'll see a gender distribution. About 60% of participants were female, 39% male, and about 1% identified as non-binary. On the right, we had age breakdown. Roughly 63% of youth between 16 and 17 years old, about 37% 18 and older. This is an important metric. It shows that we primarily reached high school aged youth just entering the workforce, while still supporting older youth transitioning into adulthood. At the bottom, you'll see education at time of enrollment. About 2/3 were current high school students, 23% were high school graduates, and only a small share had started or completed post-secondary education. These final charts show the level of need among the youth we served. On the left, you'll see 16 to 17-year-olds, and on the right are 18-plus participants. In both groups, the vast majority are low income, 79% for high schoolers and 73% for older youth. We also see significant numbers of youth facing additional barriers, including English language learners, foster youth, single parents, youth who have experienced homelessness, justice involved youth, and those living with a disability. It's important to note that some youth reported fitting into more than one of these categories, which compounds the challenges that they faced. Lastly, none of this would have been possible without our business partners. Throughout the program, we partnered with 55 new businesses that were willing to provide real-life work experience for our youth. As you can see from the logos, our largest share of work sites included nonprofits, community organizations, and similar agencies. This was closely followed by retail stores such as Goodwill and food service businesses like Pizza Factory and Baskin-Robbins. These partnerships were critical as they allowed us to create meaningful, hands-on experiences that helped youth build their confidence and future careers. That will conclude our impact report. Please note that a more detailed report will be coming in January. And lastly, on behalf of the City of Merced Youth, thank you for this opportunity.
Okay, I want to thank you for that presentation. Y'all look like you're about ready to clap, so feel free to go ahead and do it. I want to thank you. I had a question, though. Did anybody got any questions? You guys asked if... Got a question? Councilman Harris has a question for you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. So 450 were enrolled, 75 got jobs. Do you have any plans to do follow-up in 6 months or whatever, see what the status is, both with the people who didn't get jobs to see if they got them and with the people that got jobs to see if they kept them?
All the ones that we helped with, we have kept in constant contact with them to see if they're working, if they need services, because this is one of the fundings that we have. We're also the funder of the Empower program, so we do connect them with MCOE's Empower program in case they need additional help. Yes. And I'd like to just mention, it mentioned 500 people and 450 got a work experience. I'd like to just notate those 50 that did not follow through for many reasons. We tried our best to keep them coming, but life happens. Sports was a big thing. They wanted to participate, but then they didn't think I have sports. So, but yeah, 450 is a great number that we helped out. Further questions?
I want to ask you what you thought about what was your experience like working at Panaderia Guadalajara?
I really enjoyed it. It was my first job. You know, it taught me how to work. The work readiness trainings, I feel like they really prepared me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good place to learn. That's one of my favorite places.
Yeah.
And those guys, they run a really good operation.
Some good food, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. See no more questions. Want to thank all you. Thank you for helping to make all that good food. They run a really good operation over there. And then Eric, Valente, I want to thank you guys all for making this a successful program. You see, oftentimes even well-intentioned programs might not have the impact that initially policymakers desire, but I think you guys have certainly exceeded all expectations here, running a really high-quality program that was very impactful. So thank you very much for everything you do.
Okay, agenda item G, written petitions and communications. Mayor, the clerk's office received an email from Mickey Archuleta regarding public comment, as well as emails from Dr. Lee Bose, Tom Clendenin, and a letter from our city attorney regarding agenda item I-13. The emails were received by the 1 p.m. deadline. They were sent to council and posted on the city's website. Any emails received after the 1 p.m. deadline will be sent to council. Agenda item H, public comments. Members of the public who wish to speak on any matter not listed on the agenda may speak during this portion of the meeting and will be allotted 3 minutes. The mayor may propose a further limit to the time available for all speakers at the discretion of the city council in order to accommodate as many speakers as possible. State law prohibits the city council from acting at this meeting on any matter raised during the public comment period, and members of the public who wish to speak on a matter that is listed on the agenda will be called upon to speak during the discussion of that item. And Mayor, I currently have 2 requests to speak forms.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. 3 minutes each, and if you could please call the speakers.
Okay, if I can get Jen Flackman and Robert Davenport, please.
Ms. Flackman, welcome.
Good evening, Jennifer Flackman, Public Information Officer. So I have a couple of announcements. Our first Brown Bag concert of 6 in this series is coming up Thursday, December 11th at Bob Hart Square. So it starts at 6:30. We're encouraging people to grab dinner at one of our 15 downtown restaurants or bring grab-and-go meal to the square and enjoy R&B artist Brian Cade. And again, that's Thursday, December 11th at 6:30 p.m. So we're looking forward to hosting everyone there. And then we have a series of town hall meetings coming up. The town hall meetings for Maintenance District Assessment Balance, December 9th at Rivera Middle School, December 11th at Chenoweth Elementary School, and January 7th at Golden Valley High School. And we've created a project page so that if people are curious or need more information about the Maintenance District Assessment Balance, they can go to engage.cityofmerced.gov, and there will be more information and a map that details where these maintenance districts are located. And then City Council town halls are coming up. Thursday, January 9th at Stephen Leonard Community Center, that's in District 2. Tuesday, January 13th at Luther Burbank Elementary School in District 4, and Thursday, January 14th at El Capitan High School Theater in District 6. And these are opportunities for the communities to come out and meet with you, discuss ideas, issues, ask questions, meet staff before you go into your 2026 goals and priorities session. So thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate it. All right, Mr. Davenport. Mr. Davenport? Okay, I guess we'll proceed then. Oh, here comes Karthik. All right, Mr. Prasad.
All right. Evening, Council, Mayor, City of Merced. My name is Karthik Prasad here on behalf of Congressman Adam Gray, and I really hope everyone's Thanksgiving meal was as delicious as mine. But I'm not just here to talk turkey. I also have a legislative update. We had a pretty big win last week as the Department of Veterans Affairs enacted part of the Congressman's Strive Act of 2025. The VA announced that they will relieve veterans of more than $272 million of medical copay accrued due to technical errors within the VA. That was actually the major part of the Strive Act, was waiving copay for veterans if it was a result of technical errors. So it's a really big win for us that the bill that we passed through committee with unanimous support is already being enacted by the VA. Additionally, as part of the ongoing conversation surrounding permitting reform, the SPEED Act made its way through the Natural Resources Committee. This was a bill that would ensure any project sponsors, including sponsors of water projects, going through the NEPA review process to receive federal permitting would be notified within 60 days of submitting their application of what materials were still missing. The bill also sets a 30-day timeline for federal agencies to turn in and issue a final decision regarding projects. Representative Gray actually negotiated this timeline language with Chairman Westerman to ensure water projects in the Central Valley were not being held up by the NEPA process. And it's permitting language being adopted received a lot of positive feedback from both Democrats and Republicans. And of course, in the Natural Resources Committee, the Congressman introduced the Precise Act. It's a bill that was introduced alongside Representative Hinson, Panetta, Finstad, was a bill that would increase accessibility of loans for precision farming technology. The act is helpful for our district as precision farming technology increases crop yields while reducing overall inputs and environmental impacts. So we're working pretty hard on that. Finally, the Congressman co-sponsored H.R. 1383, the Secure Rural Schools Reauthorization Act of 2025. which is a bill that reauthorizes the Secure Rural Schools and Communities Self-Determination Act, which was first enacted in 2000. It's a bill that would provide funding for schools, roads, and essential services in counties with significant amounts of tax-exempt federal land. The bill would provide $7 billion of payment to more than 700 counties across 40 states, and the district's going to receive quite a bit of funding from that. SRS actually funded CA13 and went to Merced, Madera, and Stanislaus County, and total district funding at that time was around $567,000. So this bill would really help a lot of folks here who are struggling with rural school funding. So that's all I've got for this week, and yeah, I'll see you all at the next City Council meeting.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the update and appreciate the turkey joke as well. All right, Mr. Davenport. All right, good evening, sir. I want to welcome you to our council chambers. You have 3 minutes.
I don't hear real good.
Okay. I just wanted to say good evening and welcome, and you have 3 minutes to address us, sir.
3 minutes. I don't think I'll be able to say what I need to say in 3 minutes. But first off, y'all are screwing up as far as your roadways and stuff goes. Y'all don't even understand what you're doing. Personally, I was sent to Germany 3 times. I never asked to go there, but I learned something every time I was there. One of the things I learned is whenever I was over there in 76 and 77, America celebrated its 200th anniversary. There was a town that was real close by named Trier, T-R-I-E-R, and it celebrated its 2000th anniversary. And I looked at that stuff real close. The base of the roadway is cobblestone, regular rocks. Put them on the ground, put them together like a crossword puzzle. Now you got a base. Now you can put something like a pool cover, like Hypalong over the top of it. They do have a new stuff like mixed with asphalt and stuff. You can put your glass, you can put your plastics, all the recyclables can go right in there with it in your tar mix or whatever, along with strips of rubber. And it all blends together. They make like Lego blocks type things out of them. And you can piece them together and stuff that way, put it right on the top of that, and then pour it in on top of it. You can take that stuff and put it in a pothole, let it cure for like 24 hours, and hit it with a sledgehammer, and it doesn't do much damage at all to it. You know what I'm saying? Just a scrape or something. Worth a shot. It was a Canadian video and stuff, from what I understand. Yeah, is that good enough?
Yeah,
For the first part?
Yeah, you
So
still have
y'all
another.
might want to talk to me. The second thing is stuff, if I can go any further and stuff, is you need to make the Yosemite Lake over to the citizens of Merced. And we need to stop having these meetings and stuff like this. We need to have some fellowships and stuff with the people in the community that can get out there and discuss issues and stuff together and then come up with some solutions. Then we'll hand you the list and you can contact the people and y'all can get it done. That's the way it should be done the first damn place.
Okay.
While we're at it too, is there any veterans in here? Because if you do, you got a fraudulent VA card because it's not verified and certified. And my rank is wrong too.
All right, thank you, sir. What would invite you to our town halls, and then our city engineer is right back there too. He's interested in some of the things, he's listening, so feel free to share some ideas with him if you like to and follow up with him. Okay, Jennifer, anybody else?
That's all we have, Mayor. Okay, agenda item I, consent calendar.
All right, to our consent calendar, any members of the council wish to have any items pulled for separate consideration?
I'd ask that we pull I-13 for separate consideration, and so my colleague can recuse himself.
Okay.
Mayor, I'll pull I-10 and I-13 I was going to ask for as well.
Okay.
to recuse myself.
Okay. All right, anyone else? Anything from the public, Jennifer?
We don't have anything, Mayor.
Okay, we'll take it back to council for discussion and or motion with respect to the balance.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Boyle and a second by Councilmember DuPont. Mayor and council, please cast your votes. Okay, the motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. We'll take up I-10. This is the CP42 MOU. Give Councilmember DuPont the chance to step outside briefly. Anything from the public on this item, Jennifer?
We don't have anything, Mayor.
All right, discussion from council or a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think Smith got you, Harris.
Okay, I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Boyle and a second by Councilmember Smith. Mayor and council, hold on one second. Please cast your votes.
I was going to say, Assistant City Clerk, please clear the votes.
And the motion passes with Councilmember DuPont recusing himself.
All right, takes us to I-13. This is, once again, the Yosemite and Parsons project. Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I asked to pull this at the request of several members of my district who wish to speak on this item.
All right, do we have requests to speak from the public?
We don't, Mayor.
Okay, is there anybody who'd like to be heard on this item? If so, please fill out a green request to speak form. That letter you wrote was very nice. That's a good letter.
Good evening, City Council, City Mayor, and staff. I asked Councilmember Smith to please remove this because we want to make sure that our community is involved in all of the discussion that continues on this project, that any correspondence that's done between the city and the applicant, that our neighborhood is included in all of that discussions to make sure that this project basically goes along with everything we've been talking about and the agreements that have been done between the neighborhood and the developer on this project. And if you got any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. I didn't think this was a subject I could comment on the consent, so I didn't fill out a form.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Thank you.
Everything worked out. Okay. Additional discussion. Councilmember Smith, did you want the city attorney to offer any clarification? He wrote a clarifying letter to the.
I was just gonna ask, and I hate to put Mr. Cornwell on the spot, but maybe you could just give us a brief explanation for the community about what it means that we're doing a second reading of the ordinance that was first read when this item was up 4 weeks ago. And what is the vote today? What are we doing today? Put it that way.
Thank you. Mayor, Council, at our last meeting, 3 items were approved on this project. The general plan amendment number 24-02, as well as the site plan utilization revision number 3 to plan development number 20. The site plan utilization document included language of the intent to change the zoning for the project. That necessitated the first reading of the ordinance, which will change the zoning for the project to planned development. Before us today is the second reading of the ordinance. If that is to pass, 30 days after that ordinance would be on the books for the city of Merced, and the zoning for the project would be completed. What was denied without prejudice was the site plan review permit number 551 and the minor use permit number 24-13. Those documents go towards the specification of the self-storage proposal. Specifically, council expressed a willingness to have the landscaping and environmental aspects of the specifications reviewed. And that's where we are today. This vote is being an ordinance, will take 4 votes of council to conclude the process of the ordinance approval.
Okay, thanks, sir.
And then just to confirm, the specific changes the developer would propose with regard to the storage facility are not in front of us today. That's going to come up at a later meeting, if it comes up at all.
Correct.
And will that go back to Planning Commission for a hearing before it comes to us?
That's going to come to our
Straight to council. Okay, all right, thank you. I have no other questions.
Councilmember Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a clarification, Mr. Cornwell. We didn't actually approve anything. We took action on the appeal of the Planning Commission decision, didn't we?
I say that one more time about not approved, because we did approve. There were 2 documents that were approved by this body.
But weren't those the Planning Commission's decisions? We were acting as judge or?
Correct. We had a public hearing, and at the end of the public hearing, we had a vote that approved the general plan and the site plan utilization.
Okay. I'm probably not making myself clear. The Planning Commission rendered a decision on those items, and it was appealed. And then we either upheld or denied the appeal, and we did it in sections, I think, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm just saying the impact of council's decision.
Okay.
Those items have been approved and will not come back before this body.
Right. All right. Thank you.
All right. Back to council for additional discussion and or a motion. And this is, as Craig summarized, this is the second reading. So again, memorializing our essentially a second vote of what we discussed at our last council meeting.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second. Okay, just for clarification, this is motion to approve, correct, Councilmember Harris?
That's correct.
Okay. I have a motion by Councilmember Harris and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Boyle. The motion will include the adoption of Ordinance 2585, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Merced, California, changing the land use designation for 3.19 acres from commercial office to self-storage at 1380 East Yosemite Avenue, and for 4.86 acres from commercial office to residential at 3595 Parsons Avenue, generally located at the southwest corner of East Yosemite Avenue and Parsons Avenue. Mayor and council, please cast your votes. Okay, and the motion passes with Councilmember Zhang voting no and Councilmember DuPont recusing himself.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, everyone, for all your hard work across multiple meetings on that. And Craig, too, thank you for all your, for summarizing that. Okay, on to our public hearings. This is agenda item J. We'll invite Councilmember DuPont back in, and we'll take up J1, Jennifer.
Okay, agenda item J, public hearings. J1, public hearing for the introduction of ordinances adopting Title 24, Parts 1 through 12 of the California Code of Regulations known as the California Building Standards and Fire Code and legislative findings supporting local amendments to the City of Merced Municipal Code.
Thank you. All right. Do we have a staff presentation on this item? we'll be in good hands.
Hello, Mayor, council members. We do not have a presentation for this, but if you have any questions, myself and the fire chief will be happy to answer any of them.
Okay. I guess, yeah, just for everybody's edification, what is before us tonight? In brief.
This is the adoption of the codes, parts 1 through 12, that the Building Standards Commission adopts the codes through the Health and Safety Code, and then they leave it up to each individual jurisdiction to adopt them locally, which solidifies the enforcement of these codes.
Okay.
And it's every 3 years.
Okay. Essentially state law that comes
Yes.
down through us. Okay. Casey, anything to add? Chief Wills?
No, nothing significant, just a routine, every 3-year adoption of our codes. The fire code is the most significant part of the building code, although it's only one chapter. It's most significant in the sense that that's where most of our amendments come from, as they relate to geographical, topographical, climatic factors that allow us to amend the code pretty minorly. We this year, we didn't really make any significant changes, pretty consistent what we have done for the past 10 to 20 years, probably.
Okay. Questions from council? Any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll turn to our Assistant City Clerk. Jennifer, anything from the public on this item?
Did you open the public hearing?
You got to open the public hearing.
Yeah.
That's what I said. In my mind, I opened it, but we're going to open the public hearing right now, and we're going to ask if there's anything from the public.
We don't have anything, Mayor.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is now your time to be heard on this item. Public hearing is now open. Okay, seeing no takers, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for additional discussion and/or action.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Harris and a second by Councilmember DuPont. The motion will include the introduction of Ordinance 2582, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Merced, California, amending Title 17.04 Building Code Sections 17.04.010, 17.05.010, 17.06.010, 17.07.010, 17.09.010, 17.10.010, 17.12.010, 17.20.010, 17.24.010, 17.28.020, and 17.34.010, and 17.11.010 of the Merced Municipal Code to adopt by reference the California Building Code, California Residential Code, California Existing Building Code, California Green Code, California Energy Code, California Reference Standard Code, California Historical Code, California Wildland Urban Interface Code, California Administrative Code, California Electrical Code, California Mechanical Code, and California Plumbing Code, and the introduction of Ordinance 2583, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Merced, California, amending Chapter 17.32 Fire Prevention Code of the Merced Municipal Code. Mayor and council, please cast your votes. Okay, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right, our next public hearing is agenda item J2.
Agenda item J2, public hearing to consider adoption of a resolution granting a certificate of public convenience and necessity for Trust Point Protection Group to engage in private patrol services.
Thank you. Sergeant Render.
Good evening. The city has received a business license application from Trust Point Protection Group, which is a licensed private security service provider seeking authorization to operate within the city of Merced. Trust Point Protection Group is a licensed private security contractor headquartered here in Merced. They currently hold a private patrol operator license, which is valid through January 31st, 2027. And the business is also in good standing with the California Department of Consumer Affairs. The company employs 15 licensed security guards who operate at locations throughout the state of California. As part of the license review process, the Merced Police Department conducted a background check on both the business entity and the qualified manager. The background review found no adverse information. Both the company and the qualified manager are in good standing and meet all the requirements to conduct private security operations. Based on the completed review, Trust Point Protection Group meets all licensing requirements and has been verified as compliant and properly licensed security contractor. Their business license application is suitable for council consideration.
Okay, thank you, sir. So in summary tonight, we, a group or a business applies to be a private security company. They give you the application, you guys vet them, and then it's required by law for us to make some sort of finding of public necessity or convenience.
That is correct.
Okay. All right, any questions from council? Okay, seeing none, we'll now open the public hearing, and I'll ask of our Assistant City Clerk if we have any requests to speak on behalf of our citizens.
We don't have anything, Mayor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now is the time to be heard. If you so choose on the Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity for Trust Point Protection Group. Okay, again, seeing no takers, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for further discussion and/or a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Boyle and a second by Councilmember Harris. The motion will include the adoption of Resolution 2025-71, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Merced, California, granting a certificate of public convenience and necessity to Trust Point Protection Group. Mayor and council, please cast your votes. Okay, and the motion passes with Councilmember Zhang voting no.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. On to J3.
Okay, agenda item J3, public hearing to consider adoption of a resolution granting a certificate of public convenience and necessity for Boosted Night Patrol to engage in private patrol services.
Sergeant Ritter.
Yes, the city received another business license application from Boosted Night Patrol, which is also a private security firm seeking authorization to operate within the city of Merced. Boosted Night Patrol is a licensed security contractor headquartered here in Merced, providing security services to Merced, Stanislaus, and Fresno counties. They currently hold a valid private patrol operator license issued by the California Bureau of Security Investigative Services. The license is valid through January 31st of 2027, and the business is in good standing with the California Department of Consumer Affairs. Boosted Night Patrol employs 14 security guards, all licensed, who work throughout the state of California. The company currently maintains 9 active security contracts in counties outside of Merced and has 3 pending contracts to provide security services within the city limits. As part of the application review, we completed a background check, both on the business entity and the qualified manager. And there were no adverse findings, and both are in good standing and compliant with all licensing requirements. Based on the completed review, Boosted Night Patrol meets all licensing requirements and has been verified as a compliant and properly licensed security contractor. Their business license applications is suitable for consideration.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Questions from council? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Jennifer, any requests to speak from the public?
We don't have anything, Mayor.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now's the time to be heard. Similar to the last item, this is for Boosted Night Patrol. Same process where the security companies apply and then they're vetted. They have to go through a background check, and then we have to make a finding to allow them to operate. Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to council. We'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council. And if there's any discussion and/or motion, Councilmember Jean.
Yeah, I just want to express my opinion here. I don't think there's a public convenience or necessity for this item or the one prior. I mean, they're the same in this case, and we're approving 2 in one night. We make it more difficult to open a dispensary here than to have a patrol. And I think it's not quite needed here. I mean, if we start looking at this in terms of security for schools, that's something I'm open up to in terms of not having our police officers at the schools. Or if we're looking at this in terms of having security at public events, right? So those are things where I understand in which case it alleviates our police force. But in this case, I don't agree with one, approving both in tonight's meeting, and then I don't see that public convenience or necessity.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember DuPont and a second by Councilmember Harris. The motion will include the adoption of Resolution 2025-72, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Merced, California, granting a certificate of public convenience and necessity to boosted night patrol. Mayor and council, please cast your votes. Okay, the motion passes with Councilmember Zhang voting no.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Sergeant Ritter.
Agenda item K, action items. K1, setting public hearing to adopt resolution for Parks and Community Services fee schedule.
All right, Director Jensen.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, residents. Christopher Jensen, Parks and Community Services Director. Before you this evening is a request to set a public hearing at the December 15th meeting. The reason for that request is to review our current fee schedule and consider adopting resolution to amend that. The reason for that are threefold. One, currently our revenues are not keeping pace with our expenses. In the last couple of years, we've had the benefit as a state of increasing minimum wage. However, our fee schedule has not caught up to that increase in cost for our department. And we have the same activities and services that are being offered to the community, in many cases, even in addition to what was offered 2 years ago, at that time that the fee schedule was last amended in 2023. The additional reason for the consideration is the inclusion of Bob Hart Square. Right now, Bob Hart Square, as you know, recently completed construction. We have a new venue through the construction of Bob Hart Square, which includes a park amenity, the plaza where the stage exists. We foresee that being a highly reservable location for downtown events to anchor downtown entertainment in the community. And we would like your consideration of including that as a park amenity in that resolution. The third item for discussion at the public hearing is a consideration of the way our fees are scheduled. Right now, we have a 3-tiered fee schedule system. We have a base rate fee, a nonprofit fee, and a co-sponsorship opportunity. Things that may directly align with our mission goals and objectives that have been approved by council through our goal setting process, or things that may fall outside of the purview of our department but align with council's mission goals and objectives. Those co-sponsorship opportunities are also things that are considered when we set fees for public events and park amenities. Unfortunately, the current structure requires a ton of subsidy. Right now, it actually allows nonprofits to come in and get a 50% reduction on most park uses, including our indoor facilities. It actually requires additional administrative costs to verify a nonprofit's status to actually be open to that rate. And so we have a higher administrative cost for a fee scale that actually includes a 50% reduction. So we're just not able to keep pace with the current iteration of our fee system. So we'd like your consideration of the aforementioned topics to be discussed at our public hearing, hopefully on December 15th.
Thank you, Chris. Questions for Director Jensen, Councilmember DuPont.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Jensen. Just a couple questions. I know we're agendized to kind of have some type of discussion and consideration of a new fee schedule. Was there, and I read in the legislative text in the agenda that there's an example of a simplified fee model. Can you explain a little bit why simplifying the fee model would be beneficial and what kind of simplification you would like to see for staffing purposes and for the public's purposes?
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity, Council Member. I believe we've had discussions on a pretty regular basis now about the the additional costs that the city is subsidizing for community events, and that expense is outpacing our revenues to be able to keep up with that demand. The simplified cost allows us to have a base rate that we can set as a council, or that you can set it for our department as a council, which would allow us to cover our known operating costs. Right now, the unknown variable is how many nonprofits are the ones that are going to be reserving our facilities. So without a cap, in order to make sure that we have a threshold by which we stay under to make sure that our revenues are covering our costs, it ties our hands. And so oftentimes we make projections based on historical facility use. If those projections are off by any amount of measure, we're here back at mid-year requesting additional subsidy for our department because the general fund can't continue to carry the load of the extensive use by nonprofits. So we're hoping to have a base rate that we know covers our operating costs. If there's things such as private use, if there's use where there's a charge to enter a facility because of the type of use, there's money being made by the user or the applicant off of the use of public facilities, those would have escalating costs because those oftentimes spill over into public right-of-way or city real property and often require support from Public Works, our police department, and sometimes beyond what our typical support would be for site applicants. So the hope is that a base cost could be set, or a base fee could be set that we know would cover our operating costs. Anything that would require additional use, fees to enter a facility, we can escalate those charges because they usually would require additional subsidy by the city.
Thank you. The other question I had is currently, because we've newly renovated Bob Hart Square, we don't necessarily have a fee structure for Bob Hart Square, correct?
Correct.
And then can you explain a little bit as well as for my advocacy, is there a difference between the two sides of Bob Hart Square, or are we treating Bob Hart Square as the same for the whole section?
It's a good point of context. So historically, Bob Hart Square has been zoned as open space, meaning there's not a park amenity attached to it. So whenever you would have a request to utilize Bob Hart Square before you, it would be to utilize public right-of-way. So that would be a council discretionary choice. What we're proposing is that the new plaza be a dedicated recreation amenity that could be reserved at any point in time without council necessarily approval, simply through our office, like we would the moat at Applegate Park, which is also an open, dedicated or zoned open space area. Anything that spills outside of that dedicated recreation amenity or facility would also require council approval. So we would come back to you if anything was to be of the size and scale, say, of the Christmas tree lighting event last evening that went all the way to Main Street to 16th. Those types of events would continue to come to council for approval just like they do now for use of public right-of-way. What we're asking is to delineate that special use of that common corridor, which is the historical Bob Hart Square, from the new addition of the what we consider a recreational amenity or a venue in the plaza section.
And when you say plaza section, is that from the end of the buildings towards 16th?
Correct.
Okay.
The historical alleyway to the stage on 16th Street, currently that is needs to be abandoned as a city street. It used to be the dead end of Canal, and we would like to repurpose that as a dedicated park amenity.
Okay, thank you. No further questions at this point.
This witness. Councilmember Jean.
Do we have a list of prior year reservations in terms of fees collected, reduced, and waived? Okay. How much is that in between? Like, how much do we lose by waiving the fees or reducing it?
It's 50%. So I don't have the specific number or percentage for you this evening, but the baseline for which we accommodate nonprofit use right now is a 50% reduction on fees. So we project to cover our cost at the 100% fee. So anything that is approved as a nonprofit use automatically is 50% over, above, we're in the red by 50%.
Okay.
So that unknown variable of how many are approved causes some hesitation on our part to put budgets forward because we really just don't know.
Okay, and maybe we could talk offline about just the number, because that's the thing I'm
Absolutely.
interested in. Are we seeing any, I'm gonna say repeat offenders, but like, do we see any repeated organizations that are just booking up everything or at a very reduced price tier?
Sure, yeah, we do. And I wouldn't say repeat offenders, I would say repeat users. We just have historical, whether it's events or activities. Just to name a few, Juneteenth, Positive Brothers United, we've had a big push by them to establish Juneteenth at Applegate Park the past few years. We work with them on that process. We partner with the Chance Dobbins charity to hold special events for young adults at the senior center. That's a reduced nonprofit rate. And we have some others as well that are very traditional, that do amazing service. But at the end of the day, I think for us, the appeal to look at a different fee structure is not to undermine anyone's capability of hosting these fantastic events. It's really to ensure that we're covering our operational costs.
And then in the staff report, it mentions, I think 3 specific facility. Are the fee schedule updates beyond that? Does it include picnic areas and fields and so forth?
Yeah, so what we would hope is our entire fee schedule would be reviewed as part of the resolution. The one that I wish we had included in this, we're just not there quite yet, is Community Park 42, with the addition of another level of amenity moving forward with the extension that was approved this evening. We're hoping to have a different pro forma ran for that venue to bring back a fee schedule for that specific site at a later date for your consideration. For this, it's our existing programs, our existing facilities, which are outdoor shade structures and indoor facilities, and then the addition of Bob Hart Plaza.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Councilor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Director Jensen.
You're welcome.
You may have answered my question or maybe not, so I'm just going to ask it. And if I am confused, you can let me know.
Okay.
Where the proposal will be potentially in 2 weeks to move away from a nonprofit rate and go to a more simplified 3-tier structure. I see in the proposal in the staff report that we're maintaining a city-sponsored partnership event level where the fees are waived or reimbursed. Doesn't that effectively maintain a nonprofit or free tier? Because any group, nonprofit or not, could just ask the council to co-sponsor and then the fees are waived.
Yes.
We approved 2 of those in the consent agenda earlier.
Yes, that's a very good point. It does allow that latitude for council's consideration, or, for example, with our department, independent of council's choice to co-sponsor an event, anything that aligns with the mission, goals, and objectives that we've had adopted by you as a council, we would consider co-sponsoring, because we would try to host those types of events in lieu of anyone else's participation. So oftentimes we may partner with an organization that is spearheading an initiative, much like last evening's festivity, but if it aligns with the mission, goals, and objectives that were adopted by you at the onset of the year, we consider co-sponsorship opportunities. What we would like is for staff and council discretion, regardless if it's a specific nonprofit that's asking for the co-sponsorship, but more on the basis of whether or not it aligns with our goals and objectives that were set forth for that year.
But doesn't having that co-sponsorship waiver make it more difficult to budget? If you don't know in advance which events we're going to have to pay for, or the user has to pay for, doesn't that make budgeting even difficult still?
I think the difference is that co-sponsorship is a choice as opposed to a nonprofit mandate.
True, but I mean, I think it's difficult for the council to say that we're not going to co-sponsor X event, but we're going to sponsor Y. That gives me the heebie-jeebies, and it sounds like another discussion we've had up here. Tonight's item is just about setting the public hearing. I support that. I'll put this in the concern box.
Yep.
That I think it's still too easy to get a fee waiver by asking for co-sponsorship by way of the consent agenda. And I see the costs You know, I understand that we need to provide refuse receptacles. That's pretty cheap. But then I see $5,000 of overtime for the police department. Times all the events, I mean, that adds up. So I worry about the impacts on all the departments involved. And I'm not sure that even the nonprofits are running some of these events as a nonprofit, but I guess we can talk about that in a couple weeks. So thank you.
You're welcome. We could certainly tee up a couple of different models for consideration with that in mind.
Councilmember Dupont.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Smith, for bringing up that point. I was waiting for a little bit discussion time, but that's one of my concerns. I think city-sponsored or partnership events, as they come across our agendized items, sometimes we can see what the estimated cost is for our city-sponsored events, but unsure of what the staff level participation is as a co-sponsor means. So I think it's a great way to tee up that discussion in 2 weeks of what does that mean? What are the parameters of being co-sponsored by the city? And you're right, it brings back memories of other policies that we've discussed this past year. So I think that's a concern of mine of knowing what events we're sponsoring and not sponsoring and what our involvement means. When our name is on a flyer, did our staff look at that flyer? Was it approved by our staff? Are we involved in that discussion? Those are all concerns, and if we're not, then there's items out there that has our name on it without any type of city approval. And that's largely concerning to me. As well as just kind of bringing in Bob Hart Square here is a lot of what I think the discussion can be as well in 2 weeks is we have invested heavily in Bob Hart Square. A lot of the street closures and other closures within the city and public facilities that are being used, we've intended Bob Hart Square to be used as an event space. So we need to use it as an event space, which means less street closures and less using parking lots. At least I think that discussion needs to be had in 2 weeks as well of what does it look like by putting in such a large investment to Bob Hart Square and Plaza. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Jensen. Have you, or and if you haven't, could you take this year's events and model them into your simplified fee schedule and see what the result would have been?
Yeah, absolutely. My recommendation is that we do it for last year, just so we have a full year's view. But we'll bring that back and compare it with the two, both the model that was projected for consideration and then the elimination of a co-sponsored opportunity, and play that out for you at the public hearing.
It would be very handy. And am I correct in saying that one of the biggest expenses is the police services?
Absolutely. For the larger scale events that require police support, by far, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief Stanfield, but I believe a trigger for that is a lot of the full-time police officers are on overtime at that point for those weekend or evening events that are supported. So,
and how do you charge for that? Is that a flat rate or is that a expense as when it's incurred? That's what they pay.
There's two different ways those expenses are accommodated. One would be if it's through our office, it would be a request interdepartmentally, and it would be a discussion between the chief and I if it's something that we felt needed to be supported, if it was beyond what we felt private security could support. The other avenue would be if it's a public right-of-way or a public city real property event. At that point, it goes through the planning department, and there's often a request for barricades or traffic control and that such. And so that's handled by a different department than ours.
And do we typically break even or lose money on that?
My estimation is we lose money at every turn, but I don't want to take those words from Chief Stanfield.
So it depends. If you sponsor the event and we commit to co-sponsoring, it comes out of the police department's overtime budget. So at the previous agency I worked at, we had something called outside work agreement contracts, and they were in conjunction with Parks and Recreation, who schedules the events and, you know, vets out what procedures we're having. So let's just take Bob Hart Square's tree lighting, for example. Does it require police services? And to Councilmember Zhang's point, or does it require security service that we can hire to do this that the police department don't have to get involved in? So that's the first question. Then if it does require police service for street closures or, you know, certain things that just would require police services, we would have an outside service agreement contract saying if you're going to need this many officers, you're committing that you're paying at the rate for the officers plus the workman's comp plus this plus, so the city's made whole again. So we don't make money on the deal, but the money would go back to the finance department and it would get reimbursed to the police department's overtime budget, because currently the system is the overtime budget of the police department gets used for sponsored events. But when I make my budget, I can't predict all the events that we're going to have. So I do it based on what if we have emergencies, what if we have flooding, what if, right? So for us, we're looking at a way to be cost neutral. And we're looking for a way that the city, even if we sponsor the event, I'm saying I'll provide the staff, but the event sponsor has to pay for the usage of the staff through the outside service agreement contract that they have. If it's 5 officers, then they pay back 5 officers for the hours that they had them for. And just so the city is reimbursed for the cost of the event. And if we want to sponsor, co-sponsor, then that's something we can work out. But currently, Councilmember Harris, it comes out of the police department's overtime budget.
Thank you, Chief. Well, being cost neutral, revenue neutral, is a direct effect of the fee schedule. So I guess what I'm asking is that when you bring back something for us, that it addresses that in a way that recovers our cost, which can't be predicted completely.
Sure.
So it's got to be written in that, you know, we have an estimate or whatever, but if it takes more, they're going to pay more for the services.
Certainly. In all honesty and transparency up front, it's very rare that we reach out to Chief Stanfield to deploy his services and support. Most of our venues, especially if it's a private use, require security, private security. If there's amplified music, it requires approval by the police department. If there's alcohol being served, it requires approval by the police department and the planning department. So there's some checks and balances in there. What we want to make sure that we're incorporating is that outside of our department, if those auxiliary services are needed, that we're capturing those. And right now our process isn't that shored up, and so we're sometimes losing money on that part.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Jennifer, any requests to speak from the public?
We don't have anything, Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, just a couple comments. One, I think there's a balance to strike. We have a very, we have a vibrant community that likes to have events, be out, and I think we certainly have a role to play in adding to that vibrancy and helping to build community. But at the same time, too, we need to be fair and we need to be reasonable about setting our fees and not necessarily giving away our public services, but at the same time, you're charging a reasonable rate. But at the same time, knowing that a lot of these events are really important to the community and we have a good role to play in that. Also as well, too, in terms of safety, you see, all these events we've had, I think very few, if any, significant public safety events. And you see, unfortunately, many, many examples across the country. And I think well in the past, Emmer said too, other examples of some bad things happening. So it's important, I think, at the security, be it the police or, more often through private security, it's important, to have that presence there for sure. And then the point was made earlier too, and I just want to second it too. I think, Bob Hart Square as an event space, we need to structure our fee schedule to encourage that use as opposed to, people taking over public parking lots or street closures or those kind of things. I think we can hopefully shape our fee structure to encourage behavior as well too. We have a lot of good event space, be it there, be it in parks, and to encourage use there, I think it is important as well. All right, Chris, do you need any specific direction or council comments you received from council that's sufficient? And
I think the comments are sufficient at this point.
okay, we got to set the date. We need a motion to set the date in 2 weeks.
Move to set that hearing.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Smith and a second by Councilmember DuPont. Mayor and council, please cast your votes. Okay, and the motion passes unanimously.
All right, we'll see you back in 2 weeks.
Agenda item K2, direction to proceed with site selection and planning for Merced Fire Station number 56 and the Emergency Operations Center.
Chief Wilson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present this evening. This evening, we're going to talk about Fire Station 56 and potentially choosing a location for that site to move forward. So that said, I'll get started in the presentation. All right, thank you. So first, we'll start with what is needed. So Fire Station 56 to house one fire engine, one ladder truck, and one reserve bay. The reserve bay just allows us to have reserve apparatus for when our frontline apparatus go into service, or that would give us the opportunity in the future to house, for example, a squad or an ambulance. The conceptual space needs assessment that we did calls for just under 10,000 square feet to house the fire station, the apparatus bay, the living quarters, kind of all inclusive, just under 10,000 square feet. In addition, we are looking for space for an emergency operations center. So the conceptual space needs assessment we did calls for about 1,500 square feet for that space. The reason we need an emergency operations center is currently we've kind of outgrown our space at Station 51. When we do have to activate the EOC, we're pretty compressed to keep the fire station activities and administration moving on and run an emergency out of that EOC. We do have a secondary, which is here at City Hall. I will say it's not necessarily ideal to have both of our emergency operations center, both primary and secondary, both centrally located in the same vicinity of each other, specifically between railroad tracks and Bear Creek and flooding potential and things like that. So putting it up north would be a much better option for us. Space needs assessment for the land. It was just under 2 acres, about 1.7, 1.8 acres is what we needed to house this space. Utilizing an estimated cost of $1,250 per square foot, we estimate the total cost to be just over $14 million for both the fire station and the EOC. So what do we have? So our physical analysis of what we currently have includes state earmark from Assemblywoman Soria. She provided some state earmark funding of $4 million for a fire station and an emergency operations center. We have $2.2 million set aside in the public facility financing plan on the city side, and the $2.5 million set aside in the public facility financing plan on the developer side. So in total, we're just under $8.7 million that we currently have to fund this project. So we're looking at an estimated shortfall of $5.4 million. Again, that's based off the estimated $1,250 a square foot. That's not necessarily a hard number. That could go up, it could go down. That is kind of the high end of what I'm seeing when I look at other stations in the Central Valley that have been built. So we've looked at several different locations. The general plan calls for a fire station in the area of M Street and Ironstone Drive. This was actually based on the premise that we were going to relocate Station 53. As you know, that has not happened. It's still on Loughborough, and I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a little bit. But that, although we do currently own land there at M and Ironstone, we do not feel that that is a optimal location for Station 56. And you'll see more why when I get into the data and some NFPA stuff and some ISO stuff. Bellevue Road in Barclay, this is another site location that we looked at, and we actually studied and were really going down this road at one point. This is a viable location, a very good location. Unfortunately, as we got further down the road, we did not come across, within the developer, there's some legal issues that are going on with the property, and currently the property could not be dedicated, and there was an unknown time frame as to when that property could be dedicated for a fire station. So we have pivoted and we have looked at other lots, and one that has come up is the west half of M Circle in Bellevue. This is currently owned by the city, so we did an analysis based on our historical data, our NFPA, ISO ratings, all those different things to determine if this site was viable for us. As I mentioned, these are some of the resources we considered. So we looked at future planned growth. We looked at the 2030 general plan. We looked at our standards of cover, although was established in 2018 and adopted in 2018. It still actually applies because we haven't added any additional fire stations. The exception is the squad. This last year we added the squad. That would impact our standards of cover for the better, but we don't have enough data to really analyze that since how it's only been, well, almost a year now. And then we looked at NFPA, which is kind of the gold standard for deployment when you're looking at deploying your resources. We looked at the Insurance Service Office, and we looked at our MFD historical data. This is just a map depicting the planning area. So as you can see, the blue dot kind of in the center of the map there, that's the proposed location for the fire station. And you can see that the planning area extends well beyond that. The very bottom southern line of this map is actually Yosemite Avenue. So you can see we don't have any fire stations north of Yosemite. So we've got quite a big gap there, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. Speaking of future planned growth, we've got some pretty significant annexations going on and pre-annexations going on up north. This is probably a map you are all familiar with, as many of these projects have come through this council. Every time one of these comes to council, it kind of raises my eyebrow a little bit more and more each time. There's a significant amount of growth that comes in that north end. And although I'm very excited about the growth and the opportunity it's going to bring to the community, it makes me a little nervous that we don't have a fire station in that northern end of town. So this just really is to depict the growing need. We already have a need, but this really is a growing need in North Merced. This is a snip from the 2030 general plan. Keep in mind that this was established in 2012. It was updated in 2017. Unfortunately, there was not an explanation of exactly what these circles mean, but what I've deciphered from this is that the red circles are current fire stations. The yellow circles are, at the time, were proposed relocation of fire stations. So you'll see Station 53 is not on there. It was moved out to the Highway 59 and Olive area. Station 54 was relocated out to the area of the Mission Campus Parkway area. And the blue, we believe, are proposed new fire stations, and we believe the gray circles were actually proposed county fire stations. Keep in mind, this was done before a lot of analytics were available, before we tried to focus more of our decisions on data, travel times, automated vehicle locating, things like that. This is more of kind of an older technology, often referred to as crop circles. Interestingly enough, they're actually really accurate and really similar, but because we did not relocate Station 53, which is that yellow circle up near Highway 59, that is why Station 56 would not be optimal at the M and Ironstone area. Just to help bring this together, this is an updated kind of crop circle map. So this is a map utilizing 1.5 mile radius buffer, which is one of the metrics that ISO uses when evaluating fire station locations. So you can see we have some significant overlap down at the southeast end of town where Station 51 and Station 54 are rather close to each other. Hence that relocation or that need for an additional station in the southeast end of Merced. But coming back up north, with the new blue circle for Station 56, putting it at M Circle and Bellevue area allows us some significant growth into the north end of Merced, but it also provides a little bit of overlap. So you can see 56 overlaps with 53 just a little bit, overlaps with 55 just a little bit, and overlaps just a little bit with proposed Station 56, which would be in the VST area next to the UC. This is a snip from our standards of cover. As I previously mentioned, this was a 2018 document, but again, no significant changes in our deployment model have occurred since 2018, so this data is actually still rather accurate. So you can see we have a response time gap. Ideally, we want to get on scene within 4 to 6 minutes of an emergency. This is a 4-minute travel time map. So anything that is not highlighted green in the northern end of Bellevue Ranch, you can see we're falling just a little bit short in that area, and then significantly short as we were to grow to the north. Similar type map, but this is utilizing the ISO metric, which is 1.5 mile travel distance, slightly less compliance, if you will, when utilizing the 1.5 mile travel distance, but the M and Bellevue Circle, or M and M Circle near Bellevue would certainly close in that gap. This is analysis of our current historical data. So this is the 2024 deployment data. So this is utilizing our existing call volume and then mapping what our 4-minute travel times were. So you can see we're performing slightly better than what the 2018 SOC, Standards of Cover, showed, and fairly better than the 1.5 mile ISO radius. However, you can still see we're falling pretty short in that Bellevue Ranch area, and you can see Station 53 has a significant amount of call volume, and you'll see on this next map, hypothetically, if we were to put this station here, what the historical data would do. So applying our historical data, adding a Fire Station 56 into this location, this is hypothetically what the distribution of calls would look like for 2024 data. The left side is 4-minute travel time. The right side is 6-minute travel time. So you can see we're really covering that gap, and we're also reducing the call volume for 53s, a little bit for 55s. I can kind of toggle back and forth between those. You can see it shortens up that part that extends way out for 53 and 55. Based on the 2024 data, that showed Station 56 running approximately 700 calls for service per year, which is kind of about a target number when you're opening a fire station. You know you're opening it about the right time. With the addition of the university and the automatic aid agreement, if we were to open this station today, it would be significantly higher than that. We would be about 1,350 calls annually for service, which is really showing that we're slightly behind on adding this fire station. And now to get a little more into the actual site itself. So when I initially looked at this site, I was a little bit concerned about the shape, and I wasn't quite sure how we would navigate this site given the geometry of the M circle there. So what we did is we did some analysis of the site, the way the roads are routed, and what it would look like to orient the fire station in there. This is very rudimentary, but our intent here is just to show that it is possible to put a site here, and we have good access in and out of there. Essentially, what we would be trying to do is this middle lane of the M circle of the transit hub is currently designated as a bus lane. We would designate that as a bus lane and a fire lane, and that would allow us to basically respond out and go either direction through that fire bus lane. Just a quick note, notice that we haven't completely taken up all of the space. We don't need, this half of the transit hub is about 3.8 acres. We don't quite need all of that. So just, I'll come back to it in a moment, but we have a little extra space there. M Circle in Bellevue. So these are just two conceptual site plans. It wouldn't necessarily look like this, but again, we were just showing a couple different ways that we could put the fire station, the EOC in, and be able to access in and out of the fire station without delaying any response. So one of the things we looked at was our relationship to the strategic plan. Our strategic plan was established in 2023. It was established by a committee of the members of our organization and a large committee of community members that provided input. These are the goals that are outlined in our strategic plan, and I feel confident that these goals, setting the fire station at this location, do meet these goals of our established strategic plan. Transitioning just a little bit, not to deter us from the goal or the intent here this evening of identifying this as our future fire station site, but we do have some extra space here. And this site historically was dedicated for open space or community park space. And it's not my intent to try and take away from that, but to kind of bolster that. Mr. McBride gave me this idea. It's been a year or so ago now, and I kind of ran with it. I thought it was a fantastic idea. I've worked with our Parks and Recreation, or Parks and Community Services Director, and we've come up with kind of an idea. We just want to show that it's not our intent to take away from this space. We think that we can continue to utilize this space for our community space. We'd like to come up with a public safety themed play structures, fire-themed splash pad possibly, maybe a public safety walking path. We really think this would help foster some community, foster some safety in the community, and really make the fire station an inviting place for the community. We're pretty fortunate. We have a significant amount of parking there that I would say currently at this point is underutilized, so we can utilize that space, and we could also have a small community park next to the fire station. It's been really nice having Station 55 next to the park there on Parsons. It's worked out really well, really great for community events. So it was just an idea, conceptual idea. Here's a couple more photos that kind of show the space and what we potentially could look at. You see a public safety theme, fire and EMS, or fire and police themed park space, maybe a splash pad. Again, we do not necessarily have funding for this. The estimated cost for a park about this size is approximately $3 million, but we do feel that there's an appetite in the community for a similar type park that we think the community would enjoy and would make good use of the space. All right, that concludes my presentation. This evening, we are looking for authorization to proceed with site selection for Station 56 at M. It's actually M and M Circle, which sounds funny to say, so I say M in Bellevue.
M and M.
M and M.
Thank you, Chief Wilson, for the work and for the presentation. Any questions from our council members? Jennifer, and I'll come back to council, but Jennifer, anything from the public?
We don't have anything, Mayor.
All right, back to council. Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chief Wilson. So I see here we're discussion of phasing. Is this phasing the construction given funding resources? What do you mean by that?
Oh, thank you. Very good question. Yeah, so there is an opportunity to phase potentially. The station ideally would be designed with an engine and a truck company. That's a pretty heavy lift to try and staff an engine and a truck company right when we open the station. So phasing it with opening just an engine company at first and then a truck company later is certainly a possibility. I'm very cautious of that, only because I know the cost is never going to go down. The cost is always going to go up. So I'm very, very cautious of that. The other opportunity is an emergency operations center. We have other options for emergency operations center. So there is the potential that we could possibly phase that and come in later and add the emergency operations center, get the fire station up and running, get protection in that northern end of town.
If you're not ready to answer this question, we can talk about it next time you're up here. But have you broken out the cost to know what's the cost of building out the fire station for your team to be there and then wait for the emergency operations center?
Yeah, it's about 2 million additional for the emergency operations. So if we were to move that portion, we'd save about 2 million.
So to build to that checkpoint, if I go back and do the math in my head, we're at 3.4 million behind?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you, Chief.
Councilmember Dupont.
Thank you, Chief, for the presentation. In the presentation, it shows, at least the conceptual design shows an EOC and a substation, 3,300 square feet. The 2 million you just talked about, that would just be the EOC center?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep, that's why that was 1,500 square feet. Initially, we had talked about a police substation, and there is some possibility there where we could double those up potentially because an EOC is not used all the time. So if there was a desire, we could, for a north police substation, we could actually utilize that EOC space for that as well, and then it could be activated into an EOC when an emergency occurred.
Thank you.
Councilor Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. Would I be correct in assuming that the truck company's first due would be primarily UC Merced?
Yes, yeah. They would end up primary out there, so they're going to immediately pick up about 375 calls a year. That's about where we're at now. Yes.
But the use of a truck company for height
Yes,
is going to be the UC?
Yeah, none of our other stations can actually house the truck, so that's why adding a truck at this station is important. We are getting to the point now where from Station 51 to the university, for example, is an incredible distance, and we're not going to meet our ISO ratings, given that we've annexed that area, and that's going to extend those truck response times out there. So that's why we're planning for a truck there. Yep, that's correct.
Thank you.
Councilor Jean.
Just relative to the property off of Barclay, well, what's going to happen to that property if we shifted the fire station down?
That Barclay, so that property was never dedicated. Yeah, well, the property at M and Ironstone we own. I don't know what would happen with that property now if we don't utilize it for a fire station, but Barclay and Bellevue, that property was not yet dedicated. It was a conceptual conversation with the developer. They were willing to dedicate the land, but that never moved forward.
If that's the case, then does that mean that the developer would have to pay an in lieu fee of the dedication of land? Is that how that works? No, they just don't have to do it at all.
Mr. McBride.
No, Councilmember, if it wasn't dedicated and they're not going to dedicate it, there's really no, that's it. We can go back and check and see if there's any map conditions, but Bellevue Ranch North is a large development. If there's any mitigation, Casey, go back to one of your maps, if you don't mind, maybe the circles map, the updated one. Keep going.
When the Olympics won there.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll have to go, we can go back and revisit it, but I don't know that we got a condition there. If there is something else, we can check and see, but at this point, we can't get the dedication from this. It's not something we can enforce.
So generally speaking, with the process here, I thought developers had to pay a community impact fee.
Oh, they pay.
Okay, and then this was on top of that. Okay, understood.
Yeah, the 2 plus or so. That's the 2.6 million or whatever.
Yeah, the breakdown with the PFFP funds is about 4.7 million. I'm doing math in my head here. So that's where those funds came from the developers. Those are directly from the developers. So, Mr. Wright, correct me if I'm wrong. Theoretically, in that case, if they were to dedicate land, they would likely be looking for a credit for those.
Correct. Yeah, it's not like we're giving you this and have a great day, we love you. We're dedicating this and we expect to get a reimbursement for it. Yes, thank you so much.
Okay. And then just with regards to the process, have we discussed this with like the Citizens Advisory Focus Group with regards to the general plan updates?
No, we have not.
It's not their role.
No, we have not.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, I thought it was under the previous general plan. And so if we're updating it, I thought that would be part of what would be updated in that process.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Councilmember, you've got authority to update your general plan and make policy decisions over land use now. They're focused on what's going to happen in the new general plan, wherever that's adopted. That's going to be 2-3 years down the road. So you're not running to them to get advice on, hey, I want to make a change or do this. What do you think? It doesn't work that way. That's not the relationship. So you got to make decisions for what you need to do now. They're going to give you advice on things that they suggest you might want to do in the future. That's kind of the way the relationship works.
All right, thank you.
No, ultimately, the new general plan will be up to us as well. The focus group works with staff to help produce something that then goes to planning commission, and the planning commission works on it, and ultimately it comes to us, and we give the final say. So the focus group is just one step of the process to work with staff to prepare a product that eventually is going to get to us. 2 questions. One, the property at M and Ironstone. Pardon my ignorance on this, but how many acres is it? And then what are potential, is there any thought as to potentially what are options to do with it if we don't want to proceed with it as a location for a fire station? It's okay if you don't have an answer.
I believe it's 2 acres. I just looked at that within the last couple of weeks. I believe it was right around 2 acres. And it's directly adjacent to the college. It's actually part of the land that agricultural land that they currently work on. So I imagine the college would have most interest in that.
Okay. Do you think, is it something we'd have an interest in, or do you think it's something that'd be potentially, more options in terms of, giving it, or the college could acquire it or something, some other entity?
Yeah, you would not recognize it as being like a separate parcel. For all purposes, it looks like it's part of the ranching area that the college has. So I think that, you'd have to find a use that's going to fit around that. I don't know that it's got much development potential just given the context around it. And to Casey's point, we'd have to look at the acreage.
Yeah. Okay. Casey, thank you again. This is a big deal. It's a long time coming. Obviously, a lot of work's been done on this, and this has been a significant goal for a long time, so I applaud you for all that. And just kind of looking out, too, this is the perfect slide for it as well, but 56 up at M and Bellevue, and then looking to move 54 farther to the southeast, and then eventually, I guess it'd be 57 around the UC. In that order, could you just give a little detail about the longer-term plan?
I'll tell you that 56 is really going to kind of bridge a gap up north. It kind of depends on the pace of growth in that north end of town adjacent to the UC. But capacity-wise, I feel pretty comfortable once we get Station 56 open, that north side is going to be doing really well as far as coverage goes. As one of the things we'll have to look at kind of differently with 57, which is the property adjacent to the UC, is the density. The density is going to be much higher than what we see in the other parts of town. So I think that's probably going to be the driving factor in when that station goes in. That land is scheduled to be dedicated in phase 1 of that development. Building it will obviously be a significant cost. With all of the growth going in southeast Merced, that is becoming a very growing concern for me. And I think that's going to, I believe that's going to take priority as far as the next station or relocation of Station 54.
Move 54 first, and 57 will be dependent upon growth and need.
Yep.
Good. All right, well, thank you, sir. Additional questions, comments from council, or discussion, or a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, this is to authorize staff to proceed with the site selected.
I have a motion by Councilmember Harris and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Boyle. Mayor and council, please cast your votes. Okay, the motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to our Public Safety Subcommittee. I'm sure there's a lot of good work done on that as well. And thank you to Assemblywoman Sori.
Agenda item K3, adoption of a resolution to accept and appropriate $69,252 in grant funds from the fiscal year 2024 State Homeland Security Grant Program for the Merced Police Department and to waive competitive bidding requirements for the purchase of a Novo Digital Radiography portable X-ray machine.
Thank you, Jennifer. Chief Stanfield.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an item that previously went to the Public Safety Subcommittee. We got verbal authorization to proceed with moving forward with the purchase of a mobile X-ray machine. It's an item that we currently don't have, although we have a bomb squad that services 2.5 counties. I always want to say 3, but it's 2.5 counties. We have Mariposa County, Merced, and parts of Fresno County that overlap into Yosemite. We work hand in hand a lot with Fresno County and their bomb squad, and we share equipment. We share a lot of responsibilities, especially up in the Yosemite Basin, where we have been several times this year, removing ordnance. But we've had several instances here locally where a mobile X-ray machine was desperately needed for our team, for the safety of our community, suspicious packages and things that are left out that need to be X-rayed. I asked the Public Safety Subcommittee to give us some time to try to find a grant. We were pretty confident we were going to be awarded this grant through our partners at State Homeland Security. We were awarded the grant verbally shortly before the government shutdown, and we were put on pause. So we were told to stand by until the grants were open again. So we had to hold off a little bit because by the time the government opened back up, our bids had expired, and so we had to resubmit our bids. So the first of the 2 grant items I have before you tonight is approval of a grant, full funding grant for $69,252 for the purchase of the, I'm not even going to say Novo portable X-ray machine. We're asking to waive the competitive bidding on this because this is the same product that Fresno County has, and they have accessories that we are not buying. They have certain things that can go along with this product that we don't need to buy, that we can borrow from them. So by buying this product, we expand and utilize more of its capabilities without having to buy those accessories. They're on loan to us from Fresno if we need them, or our neighbors in Stanislaus County. So we're asking to waive the competitive bidding to buy the like product so we can standardize the equipment and share resources with our neighboring counties to keep the cost at the absolute minimum, which costs the city nothing because the grant will cover the entire cost of the X-ray machine.
Okay, questions for Chief? Jennifer, anything from the public?
We don't have anything there.
All right, back to council for discussion and our motion. Our city attorney informs me this is a 5-vote item. It is for approval.
Move to approve.
Second. Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember DuPont and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Boyle. The motion will include the adoption of Resolution 2025-73, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Merced, California, authorizing the city manager to execute the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services fiscal year 2024 grant assurances agreement for a portable X-ray machine. Mayor and council, please cast your votes. Okay, and the motion passes with Councilmember Zhang voting no.
Okay, on to K4.
Okay, agenda item K4, adoption of a resolution to accept and appropriate $45,018 in grant funds from the fiscal year 2024 State Homeland Security Grant Program for the Merced Police Department and to approve the waiving of competitive bidding for the purchase of a Med-Ing bomb suit and helmet with communications package.
Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the second of our 2 grant items. This is another item. This is our bomb suit. I hate to tell you our bomb suit is expiring. It has a life expectancy and it has come and expired. So we took this to the Public Safety Subcommittee to request to purchase it. Our grant team, our internal grant team got very busy looking for the grant, and we were awarded the grant from the State Homeland Security for $45,018. This, unfortunately, by the time the government reopened, when we had to do the rebid, the cost of the suit has gone up $1,300. We do have a line item in our budget for expenses related to the bomb unit, and there's plenty of money in that line item to cover the $1,300, so it will not cost any budget adjustments on our part. But I want to be fully transparent that this grant is not 100%. There's a $1,300 that we will be paying out of our bomb budget to cover the balance. But the bomb suit, again, we're asking to waive the competitive bidding process. The one vendor that creates this suit, we currently have this model of suit, so we don't have to buy all the accessories that go along with it. Some of you, I think, have been in the old bomb suit during our Citizens Academy. There's many accessories that go with it that we don't have to buy because they will be able to be reused on the new suit. So we're saving thousands of dollars by not having to buy all the supplemental products that would go along with it. And there's only one vendor that carries this suit. So we're asking to waive the competitive bid, accept the grant, and order the new bomb suit.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief Stanfield? Jennifer, any requests to speak from our citizens?
We don't have anything, Mayor.
I'll bring it back to council for additional discussion and/or motion. And again, 5 votes.
Motion.
Second.
All right, it's a 5-vote item.
We have a motion by Councilmember Harris and a second by Councilmember DuPont. The motion will include the adoption of Resolution 2025-74, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Merced, California, authorizing the city manager to execute the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services fiscal year 2024 grant assurances agreement for bomb squad equipment. Mayor and council, please cast your votes. Okay, the motion passes with Councilmember Zhang voting no.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Chief, thank you. All right, on our business items, L1, would council prefer to take a brief recess now or get through L1 first? Okay, recess. All right, we'll take a short recess. It is 7:49. We'll make it a 10-minute recess. We'll come back at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
All right, we'll reconvene. It is now 8:02, and we'll take up agenda item L1.
Okay, agenda item L1, discussion on the format of the December 2nd, 2025 special meeting to potentially appoint and fill the Council District 2 vacancy, informing interview questions to be asked at the special meeting, and discussion on a potential special election.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Want me to go? I think, summing up our last discussion, we agreed on something roughly between 10 or 15 minutes per speaker, 6 questions being first an opening, and then we had 4 questions, and then a closing as well. Also public comment. I think council believed that
Same meeting we were at?
go ahead. No,
2 questions, not 4.
it was 4.
What, 4 questions?
Yeah, I actually have the questions written down. I have a few kind of cleanup questions to kind of ask you.
Yeah.
Now that we know that we have 13 applications.
Yep.
So if you don't, Mayor, if you don't mind, you want me to go ahead and kind of clear the, okay. So working with IT, we do have wireless mics, but we're only able to use 4 wireless mics. So that would mean if you guys want to do 4 applicants at a time, if you set up a table in the center here, have 4 applicants come up, they'll have nameplates, do the questions and all of that. We'll take a short break. Then the next 4 will come up, we'll change out nameplates and kind of just keep rotating them through. Is that something that you guys want to do?
What do you guys think?
Can we just pass the mic?
That's an option too. These mics are the ones that we use for like the town halls. So all they have to do is press mute, unmute, instead
Right.
of putting it down where it's going to make a lot
That
of
may
noise.
save us transition time.
I know Benny Hoff's here.
Yeah.
He can probably kind of clarify that
See
as
what the
well.
expert says right here. Jeff?
So we can use the mics that we currently use for like resolutions that you do down here, the normal mics. Or you can use the town hall mics. Either choice, you can have 4 of your options. You could pass it between them, or you could have a set of 4. It's kind of up to you and what you'd like to do.
Okay. So one option is to have the table 4 at a time, 4 mics, and we'll rotate 4. I guess it'd be 4.
Right, or you could have a large table and pass the mic down if you
Yeah, we
got
could
it.
seat more than 4.
Yeah, we could put like 12
pass.
people at the
Yeah.
table, or
Okay. Or else the other option is to use the mic the portable mic we have here, just to pass that one around.
right.
I'd like that.
All right.
I say we do the 12 and pass the mic.
Okay. But you have a preference? Raise your hand if you like the one single portable mic. All right. I'll vote for that. Anybody like the 4 mics? I'll vote for that too. It's like Chicago. Okay, so I don't think we got, look at some people didn't vote.
It's 2 to 1 with everybody else abstaining.
Yeah. No, sure. It's very, it's refusing to vote. It's,
I like the passing of the mic, but I would prefer to use the town hall mics rather than that one mic that we use for resolution.
okay, so you prefer the town hall mics?
Correct. So it'll still be passed, but it's the town hall mics rather than the portable one.
So the
Like the
town
ones
hall
that
mics.
stand on the table.
Yeah.
So those would be hard to pass. Right, I mean, I'm assuming that.
You could move them around. I mean, they got a base, but you could do it.
Okay.
Yeah, they're portable. Yeah, the ones we use.
Do I need to get demonstration mics and?
We trust you.
No, we have them right in front of us, but they have the little base, just like at the town halls. Okay, so if you prefer the town hall mics, having the 4 that can be passed around.
Yeah, I feel like those are better quality, just my opinion. So.
And Darren, you said you wanted that as well?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. I kind of prefer that. Does anybody else prefer that?
I'm okay with it.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
You have your direction.
And then in what order do you want to do the interviews for the applicants? You want to go alphabetically, by last name? How do you want them to be all kind of set up?
Okay, does anybody have a preference on this?
Start picking out of a hat. No, I'm kidding.
Because, I mean, we could probably have, I think we can have 12 sitting at a table, and then we can just move the mics if necessary to kind of move it down. That way there's not a whole lot of breaks. So then I just need to know how you want them to be seated. Do you want them in alphabetical order? Does it matter?
Okay, Councilor Smith, hold that.
Thank you. I don't know that we need to micromanage that. I think to me, I think it's more important that the same person not have to go first every single time, that the line, however we do it, rotates. So kind of how people are set up. I defer to the team.
Okay.
Okay, what if we just do alphabetical? Easy? Okay. Everybody okay with alphabetical? I mean, it doesn't really matter.
The order in which their applications appear in the agenda item.
That works.
Could do that.
That's fine.
That's fine too.
Can we go back to the opening and cut that down from 15 minutes to 5 minutes?
That's going to be my next question. Yeah, because it's for 15 minutes for 13 applicants, that's 3.25 hours.
3 hours, 15 minutes.
And that's not including public comment or council discussion.
Correct. So if we go down to 10 minutes, that's 2 hours 10. And then if it's 12 minutes, it's 2 hours 36 minutes. And we have a preference, given 13, 13's a lot. If we do, say 10, for example, that allows 2 minutes for an opening. And then if we have the 4 questions, which is what I remember, but if anybody remembers differently, that's 1.5 minutes each, and then 2 minutes for a close. If we do 15 minutes, then roughly 3.5 minutes for an open, or say 3 minutes for an open, 2 per question, and then 4 minutes for a close.
So having 3 times I did this on the school board, granted, it was at most about half as many candidates, but there's a 2-minute open and a 1-minute close. And I think, if you guys want to go to 3, because that's how long we have public comment, I mean, that's fine. But a 2-minute open, that's already a half hour for the opening statements. And I think we got to bear in mind that if people have 15 minutes or 10 minutes or 5 minutes, we're going to forget, right? We want to be able to draw distinctions. So I think it's more fair actually to have a more discrete amount of time.
Okay, so you're throwing your support behind 10 minutes, roughly.
I'd give each candidate 3 minutes to do an opening statement.
Okay.
I like it.
They should be able to tell us why they should be selected in 3 minutes.
Okay. Anybody else, other thoughts?
I'm good with that.
I think that's fair. While you're running an election and have debates, I think it's about 3 minutes for opening anyway, so
Okay.
I think it's fair.
So we're at 3-minute open. And then, what do you think, Jennifer? What's the next question?
Well, I guess the question is total time. Do you want me to start the clock and only run 2 minutes, and then that's all they get for the opening, and then do another timer for the questions, and then another timer for the closing, and break it up that way?
I think that's the way to go.
Okay. So how many minutes do you want for questions?
Okay. And is council's preference to have each person say we'll have 4 questions all at once, or to go around? You know what I'm saying?
I feel like this was my question last time to a city clerk, was we wanted to keep it to one person because of clock management, to keep it easier for the city clerk. Because if we did questions for each are 5 minutes and pass, then she's got to start the clock and then remember the time for each one going back and forth. So
Why would you remember the time? It's not cumulative.
if you're asking, you have 4 questions.
Right.
You ask 1 question of each of the individuals. You have to continuously keep the time for each individual, unless you're saying you have 5 minutes each question. Then you have to put the timer on for each question.
Yeah.
And delineate how much time for each question you get.
Do you think, Jennifer, is that persuasive to you? Do you find that easier, or if we just ask all the questions in one sequence to each person? So 4 questions to candidate 1, and then you have, 5 minutes. And
Then they're answering first for 4 times.
Correct. Yeah, but everybody will have the questions in advance.
Okay, that was my other question is, are they going to have their questions in advance?
public meeting.
Well, if they're watching tonight and we talk about the questions, they're going to get them ahead of time.
Yeah, and I have them written down, so if you want me to read them out loud, I can. But I guess the next question is, do you want me to send them to the applicants in the morning or tonight or whatever, so they have those questions in advance?
I mean, before we answer, let me, Mayor Pro Tem Boyle, if you want to jump in.
What I was thinking is we ask question A, they answer it. Then they have the timer. Then you have question B, everyone answers it. Question C, they answer it. Question D, they answer it. And then we can rotate it or switch it around so not the first person is always the first person. But that was going to be my suggestion.
Is that too, as the point Councilmember DuPont was making, is that logistically too difficult? Or given your skills and your talents, I don't think anything would be out of the question.
Well, I mean, if we're breaking it down to say 3 minutes for an opening, we can have person A do their 3 minutes. I can run the clock for that. And then we can have somebody else do their opening. I can run 3 minutes for that. The questions might get a little questionable because if you're going to have 4 questions and you're going to ask, applicant A 1 question, and I run the clock for however long you want that question to be, or do I run it for all 4 questions? And so say we give them 5 minutes for 4 questions. I run the clock for 5 minutes. I stop at whatever time they ended their first question, write down that time, and then we go to the next person. So it depends on how you guys want to do that. Or do we just give them 2 minutes each question? That's easy enough. I can do that.
Yes.
But if it's like a running tally, that one's going to be a little trickier. That's where I would have to start writing it down for everybody.
I don't think running a tally will be efficient.
No, I don't think so.
But I think if we give 2 minutes or so for each question, I think that's appropriate.
Okay.
Okay.
And you can put it up here and they can see how long they have.
So we'll do 2 minutes per question. Okay. And then closing, you want to do a minute for the closing or a minute and a half?
Yeah, it's the question is 2, so if we go, just hypothetically speaking, if we have a 3-minute open, 4 2-minute questions, 8 minutes, and then a minute or 2, whatever it is, minutes, say it's a minute, that makes 12 total, or say 3, that makes 14 total. Is that going to be the right amount of time? Is that too much? Is 2 minutes okay, or is less time per question? Yeah. Yeah. 3 plus 4 times 2 is 8. It's 11.
I'd go with 2 minutes on the closing.
And you say closing minute and a half?
Oh, a minute. If it's a minute, then that makes 12 total. If it's 3 minutes, then that makes 14 total.
I mean, I think a minute is enough, but we can't make this too hard. On the other hand, at that point, we've heard an opening and answers to 4 questions. So that's like, you got 90 seconds to remind us what you said is why you should be chosen.
Okay.
It's not a time to start ordering again.
Agreed.
Okay. So
90 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, so we got 3 minutes for opening, 2 minutes per question, and then 90 seconds for closing.
Yep.
Okay.
What's it come out to, Mr. Wizard?
12 and a half minutes.
I think that's fair. I mean, we wanted to do an appointment.
Yeah. And then 12 and a half gets you about 2:45 total, so. All right. Okay, everybody go with that. 3-minute open, 2 minutes per question, closing, 1.5. Okay, seeing nods. Jennifer, you're next.
Cool. All right. And then since I have the questions written down, if you guys want me to verify if that's exactly what you guys wanted, I can read them out loud.
Okay. To refresh our memory.
So the first one is obviously the opening statement, which is, why do you want the job? The second one was, what standards should the council use to make this appointment? The second question would be, what is your vision of District 2 and the issues you see? Next question is, what are your least favorite roads in District 2 and what are the infrastructure issues in District 2? And then what's your favorite thing about District 2? And then you'll have your closing statement.
Okay.
Does that seem kind of what you guys, you guys kind of threw ideas around, so I kind of pieced it together. So I don't know if that's exactly how you guys wanted it.
I think it was me who suggested that what standards should we apply. I'll be the one to say that maybe that was a bad suggestion. Although I would appreciate hearing from the candidates if they're watching on television. we only got 4 applicants by my count who actually reside in District 2. So I'd appreciate hearing thoughts from the panel about whether we're appointing a caretaker who can't run for the seat or whether people want representation from a D2 resident today or tomorrow, excuse me.
I think it's an appropriate question,
I just don't know if we have to ask it 13 times.
Maybe you phrase it a little differently. Maybe it's what should we look for in terms of what standards to apply and what standards to apply.
More open-ended?
Yeah, a little more open-ended, get you the same answer. Yeah, because what standards, that could, I don't know, some people might misinterpret that or not quite know how to answer that.
Sounds like it came from a lawyer.
It does. Is that okay? Just say, what should we be looking for?
Yeah, I think it's a good question.
Plain spoken, open-ended.
Very open-ended.
Yeah, they can take it in a variety of different directions.
Okay. So let me just read it back. So it would be, what should we look for in a candidate for District 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what should we be looking for in a good candidate?
Okay. Any other changes to the questions?
Maybe on the infrastructure one, instead of saying what's the worst road, just keep it to the second part of that question of what are the infrastructure needs you see in District 2?
That's fine. Okay, anything else?
Good on those? Okay.
Next topic.
And then do you want me to send these questions to the applicants in advance?
Okay, questions to the applicants in advance? Probably,
I don't think it's necessary.
yeah, I don't know if we send it, maybe we have them, I don't know if you want to have them that day written out, but yeah.
I mean, I can print them and have them in front of them.
I think that'd be sufficient. There's maybe a situation where some are watching right now and then that potentially could give them some sort of advantage, but I don't think that's that big a deal. I think just maybe sending them to them is probably a little extra, I think as the kids say nowadays.
Well, and you're also not guaranteed that everyone will see that email in time, and some will see it and some won't, so.
Yeah, but having them out there is good, I think. I think that's helpful.
Okay. And so just to kind of recap real quick, do we want to have all 12, we can set up tables and have all 12 here with those 4 mics, and then we can just, we can just have them pass them around, or maybe just have whatever rows, and there'll be 1 in each row, and they can just kind of pass them around.
Yeah.
Or figure that piece out. Okay.
Okay.
And then we'll do 3 minutes opening statement, 2 minutes per question, 1 minute, 1.5 minutes for closing. And then we'll put everybody in alphabetical order, and then you're just gonna kind of go through everybody, not in like a certain order, but just at random, correct? When you're asking questions. So you're not gonna go like down the line. It's just gonna be like, you'll ask like applicant A and then move it around, or how did you wanna do that?
You guys got a preference?
'Cause I know you guys said you don't want the same person to answer
Yeah.
the same things
Yeah, you can go.
first.
Go ahead.
What I had, envisioned, we have our applicants, number 1 through 13, whatever order. First question goes to applicant 1. Second question starts with applicant 2. And it just goes through the line until we get to everybody's answered the question. Then we just move down a seat and start over.
Okay.
So not everybody's going to get to go first, but at least it's not the same person going first every time.
We only have 4 questions. So when number 4 starts, that's the last one that's going to start.
So applicant 1 does the opening statement
Opening
first.
and closing.
Then question 1 starts with applicant 2, right? So we're only going to change 5 or 6 times. 6 times.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, 6 rounds, so applicant 1 will open first, applicant 2 will get the first question, applicant 3 will get the second question, on
And
and
if you
on.
want, I could skip 2 people instead of 1.
Yeah,
To get fancy.
that'll get us too confused.
And if it would help you guys as well, I can put the applicant's name. So I'll print out the questions for you guys with like some space so you guys can take notes, and I'll put the applicant's name on each, piece of paper. That way, if you had certain notes for a certain applicant, it'll kind of tie in if that's helpful for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, just going 1, then 2, then 3 down the line.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. All right, I think I have everything that I need unless there's anything else you guys want to,
Who's going to ask the questions?
you guys.
Jennifer.
So we can have, with 6, we can have each council member want to ask a question, or how do you guys want to do it?
I don't have to ask a question, but the mayor will obviously chair the meeting and open the opening and closing statements, and maybe one of us can ask the same question, be assigned a question.
That works for me.
Okay. Who wants to do a question? Anybody don't want to do a question? We got 5 of you. Does anybody got a particular question they want to ask? Their favorite question they like?
How about we just push our request to speak button if we're ready to ask a question?
I don't know if that'll work. Okay, we'll have, yeah, easy. I'll chair it. I'll start it. And
Put the
then
question up on the screen, too.
question can be up on the screen, and then, yeah, we can have,
We want the,
yeah, no,
that's
no,
a new one.
Don't make it more.
Do you want the questions up on the screen?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
If you want, leave that to you. Okay, we'll have, we'll divide it up. We can figure it out that
Okay.
day. We'll divide it up amongst the council members.
Oh, and I guess my one thing is, I don't know if I heard the answer or not, but did you want me to print the questions and have it in front of the applicants? Yes, okay.
I think so. Your boss says yes, right? That's fine. Okay.
So 2 questions I have, if I may.
Yes.
I assume there's going to be no penalties if people go over their allotted time?
Yeah, I mean, it's, well.
Not to make it a game show, but.
Yeah, there's no penalty. I mean, the penalty is there.
We see that they're continually going over time.
Correct. So I got to police it. So I'll police that. Typically let people, if they're in the middle of a sentence, let them finish the sentence unless it's a really long compound sentence. But well, yeah, I just got to police it. And I think the thing is, if they continue to do it, like a lot of people do in political debates, it's how does that? I mean, we're ultimately the ones making the decision. So is that the factor we're going to take into account or not? But I gotta police it. So I'll start telling them to stop.
Okay. Second question is invokes the city attorney's guidance here, but I know we have a deadline by charter and statute. My preference would not be to swear the person in who's selected right there in front of everybody at the same meeting.
No, I think we would have to agendize that. Like we do normally when council gets elected, when we do like a special portion of that agenda is the incoming and outgoing and all of that stuff. We would do it at a regular council meeting.
You have to come back December 15th.
Yeah.
All right,
Presumably the 15th.
Yeah. You got all the documents you got to prepare too.
Yeah.
For lack of a better adjective, I think it's classier to do it that way, but I don't want to go through the process and then, oops, we didn't swear somebody in on time. So I think we need to, if we don't have that answer, we should figure that
Yeah,
out.
go ahead.
Mayor and council, I would say it's the appointment that makes the deadline.
Okay.
Instead of the swearing in.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Mayor, did we ask for public comment?
We have public comment, and Mr. Graham is the first one.
Stephen Graham, if you'd like to come up.
Yeah, we need to, yeah, that's what we talked about last time, but then, Mr. Graham.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, City Manager, City Attorney. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Steve Graham, like a graham cracker. I just have one question. If I recall at the last meeting, and I could be wrong, I thought we settled this issue of if they lived outside of the district. And as always, to the thousands in attendance and the millions watching at home, I'm sure we want clarity on this issue. If you don't live in District 2, I'm unclear why you'd be able to apply to sit up there through this application process to be seated as such. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. And so if there are only 4 qualified applicants, why wouldn't we want to have 15 minutes for 4 qualified applicants and really drill down on those 4 so that we can get to know who really is the best applicant and then, of course, allow them to be seated at a subsequent time. I'm just saying that doesn't make a lot of sense. We want to spend a lot of time on applicants that at least technically speaking from what the city attorney said prior, wouldn't be able to go through this process. So I only ask this question because I'm sure I'm not the only one thinking it. If we could get clarity maybe on that, since this is a discussion, why anybody who doesn't live in the district would be allowed to go through the process, I'd appreciate it. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Cornwell.
Mayor and council, the brief answer to the question is when the city went to a by-district election system, the appointment system did not change at that time. So you have charter references to district elections, but the appointment system stayed at the citywide qualified elector.
Does that make sense, Mr. Graham? So in effect, everybody who's a qualified city elector is eligible. Obviously, whether or not somebody lives in the district is a significant consideration that we have to take into account one way or another. So, but everybody's eligible. Councilmember Smith.
Thank you. So since it's informal, also responding to Mr. Graham's point. So I'm showing my age. I was on the citizen committee that drew the first city council lines, and I remember working with the city attorney's office. There's always a concern that commission and board appointments will go without applicants. So there was a desire to open up to all residents of the city to make sure there was an applicant pool. But also, and I'm not meaning to color my thoughts on this, but you could make the argument that council should not set up somebody to be an appointed incumbent who maybe has a front runner advantage going into the election. So perhaps there's like what was done when Senator Dianne Feinstein passed away. Somebody who lived outside of California was appointed. So maybe that's the route that a majority of council wants to go. I don't know. I'm not sure that's what I think, but that's an additional policy reason for the charter allowing seats to be appointed by electors from across the city as opposed to the district. If it's somebody who is appointed from outside District 2, they couldn't sit for election, right?
Yep. All right. Anybody else? Hey, Jennifer, anything else?
No, I feel like we covered.
What about the length of public comment?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, public comment, I think where we left off last time was either somewhere between 1 to 2 minutes, depending on the timing and the amount of speakers. And I think what we discussed last time was having the comment after the initial question and answer session, hearing from the candidates, just because we felt that would be a better way to have the candidates heard from first and then have people come after that. So I think that's where we left off. Councilmember DuPont.
Thank you, Mayor. Given the number of applicants, I think we should stick to 1 minute public comments. But again, that's at the discretion of the mayor.
Anybody else? I think the 1 to 2 minute, and discretion between 1 and 2 minutes is probably the best bet. But if anybody else has a better idea, open to it as well.
I tend to agree with Councilmember DuPont. I mean, it may depend on the number of people who want to speak publicly, but the gist of every comment is going to be, I support this candidate and here's why. And there could be a lot of people. It's already going to be a long meeting. So I'll also defer to the mayor, but I think we should be willing to go to 1 minute if the line exceeds 5 speakers.
Okay, Councilmember DuPont.
Looking at the agenda for tomorrow, we have public comment agendized as item C.
We do.
And the action item as item D. So we have public comment first. I know we were just discussing we'd like public comment after. I don't know if we can, at the time of the meeting, switch that, but that may be something we need to put in front of the public now if we are going to switch it.
Yeah, I think we can move it. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask council to consider having the comments up front, and then after comments are done, it stays with council for the rest of the program. and that part's not broken up.
Okay, so you think it's better to have comments first and then go into the candidates after that?
And once the candidates start, the questions start, deliberation, it all stays with council, much like a non-agendized public comment at the regular meeting.
Okay.
You have the comments and then it's turned over.
All right.
But to answer Councilman DuPont's question, we can take them out of order tomorrow.
Would there be any legal reasons or anything like that where it'd be better to have the comments first?
The only legal requirement is that it's either before or during the item, and there can't be any votes taken without public comment.
Okay. Got it. Okay. All right, hearing that, is there a preference for before or after the candidates? Doesn't matter.
I'm fine with it having it before.
Okay.
I have no preference.
Okay.
I'm good with the city attorney's recommendation.
All right. Okay, well, if we do it before, and then we'll limit it. I think if that's the case too, I mean, we want to get to the guys quick, so most likely a 1 minute. We'll say 1 to 2 minutes, but if there's over 5 speakers, discretion to bring it down to 1 minute each. Okay. All right, anything else, Jennifer?
That's all I have.
So 1 to 2, over 5, or 2 over 5, then it'll be down to 1.
Okay. Yep, I think that answers everything that I had any clarification on.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Go to the next item.
Yep.
Okay,
on to the next
agenda item L2, Councilmember Smith's request to discuss the structure of council subcommittees.
Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alyssa or Jennifer, are you going to drive the presentation? Okay. Would you prefer I go up there? I'll stay at council table. Thank you, Alyssa.
You're welcome.
So as you guys know, I'm Shane Smith representing District 4. This is my second presentation today, so bear with me, please. I'm going to walk through my observations about how our council committee structure works in practice and talk about some concerns I have about transparency, but also try to make the point to you that I think we're really missing an opportunity to build expertise on our council and to be more nimble and do a better job of helping the city manager with us govern the city. And so what I'm going to be asking for is not just your feedback and critiques of my ideas, but I'd also appreciate authority from the full council to come back in 30 days or so. We can talk about the timeline with a more formal policy proposal. So next slide, please. Or the issue slide, please. Yeah, so again, just to frame our discussion, I mean, I see the issue before us in legal terms, but I think this raises some legal questions. So should our existing council system of appointing standing committees for an entire council term, without committee meetings being open to the public, should we replace them with formal standing committees who convene in public noticed meetings that are subject to the Brown Act? And you can tell based upon the way I phrase that what I think we should do. So I'm not the city attorney, you know, that usual disclaimer that I give, but I mean, I want to point out some items of the Brown Act, many of which are pointed out to us by our community at different times. This body, the Merced City Council, is subject to California's open meeting law, the Brown Act. And here's a quote that we've heard quite a bit from people. The people do not yield their sovereignty to the bodies that serve them. The people insist on remaining informed to retain control over the legislative bodies they've created. So I take this as an assumption that if the city council, next slide, please. If the city council is discussing an issue and forming opinions about things, that the public has a right to know, the public should be involved in the discussion. The Brown Act applies to something the Act calls standing committees. that have continuing jurisdiction over a particular subject matter. And it also applies to standing committees that are created by something called formal action. Next slide, please. So that's the law, and here's our practice. Once a year, usually at one of our December meetings, the mayor and the city manager propose the prior year's roster of council members serving on various committees. We then set the committee membership. Oftentimes, the memberships carry over from year to year. We do appoint less than a quorum of council members to each committee, but we do so by way of a formal motion that's seconded and gets a council vote. And just to remind everybody, last year to set this year's current council roster, I made the motion and Councilmember DuPont seconded it. Council members in these committee meetings for the public, I mean, the basic idea is that we're briefed on upcoming issues by city staff, by the city manager. We have an opportunity to answer questions or ask questions that are answered. It gives staff a chance to kind of vet ideas and build a base of knowledge on the council before an item comes before the full council. And generally no actions are taken, but I don't know that that's always been the case, and I think it's a little bit gray as to whether the discussions that we have veer from just simply teaching 3 council members to forming recommendations. And it goes without saying that these meetings have not been formally agendized, noticed, or open to the public. Next slide, please. So my perspective, it's not really important for us to decide whether or not past practice comports with the Brown Act, but I think the current structure is certainly not in the spirit of it. I think that our community at times has chided us for not being transparent with our committee process. And I think that we have to kind of look at ourselves and think that the dangers there are not worth the cost. I spoke at a couple meetings ago about the Transportation Committee being asked to decide an issue to meet a grant deadline that was at the end of that week and before the next council meeting. The decision the subcommittee made was ultimately ratified, but it had not been ratified by a majority of council by the time the grant deadline had to be met. I can think of other examples. So just timely, Chief Wilson presented the concept of Station 56. It no longer has a police substation in it. I was a part of a public safety subcommittee meeting where we discussed whether or not the substation needed to be a part of the plan. Now, I think it was just colleagues in a room discussing an idea and coming up with a better idea, but it happened under the tent of a council subcommittee. So should that have been open for public inspection and comment, participation? I would say probably. And then, of course, we have the budget review every year where there's a report out of the budget subcommittee's findings. That discussion doesn't happen in public. So those are just 3 examples where I think that we need to tighten some things up so that we don't run afoul of the act. And honestly, I think every single one of us, I didn't check, we probably all ran on a platform of government accountability and transparency. So here's where we start doing some of that work. Next slide, please. The question for us is, should the subcommittees continue? Next slide. I mean, I say yes. I say this all the time, the number and complexity of issues coming at us as a council, as a city, really exceeds kind of the traditional structure that we've got. I see committees as a more nimble way for the council to react to issues as they happen in real time. It also allows us, as we kind of do now, to build subject matter expertise within the council. That's important when half of the membership is up for election every 2 years. Also, we've got a council manager system enumerated in our charter. I mean, this is a way to distribute authority throughout the council. And it still allows staff to build support and vet ideas. It just would happen in public. Next slide, please. So basic proposal, you look at the list of our numerous subcommittees. I think they could be condensed into 4 standing subcommittees, right? So staff has less committee work to prepare. We could have a more focused discussion as a subcommittee. I would propose, because of the transparency issues, that we implement this new standing committee structure to start the next calendar year. I would submit that some of our more time-limited issue-focused advisory committees, like on particular ordinances, can continue as such and be had in kind of a more conference room closed and discussion-oriented venue. But I do think we owe it to the community to raise these sort of ongoing ad hoc committees for reapproval about every 6 months. I think sometimes the pace of these things kind of lags, and so we kind of lose track of time. And we end up having ad hoc committees that last for over a year. And I don't think that was what is intended. I'd also like to point out, as our city grows and we're almost 100,000 residents, and I talked about those issues, I mean, this is what our peer medium-sized cities are doing. Modesto and Bakersfield have standing council subcommittees that meet on a regular schedule. I'll point out that even Atwater has standing council subcommittees. So I think this is partly another step in modernizing how city council operates, and I think our city is ready for us to take this on. To make sure I'm clear, probably don't need this slide, but I mean, I'm envisioning formal standing committees that are agendized under the Brown Act, kind of like a board or a commission. Probably for AV reasons, they'd have to happen in this room. They'd be minuted, be a chance for the public to comment and be a part of the discussion. My proposed committee structure, this is getting into the weeds a little bit for this conceptual conversation, but just so you have an idea. I mean, you can envision 4 subcommittees focused around public safety. Next slide, please. I'm sorry, I keep doing that. These are going to be familiar themes to you. Public safety. We can talk about police and fire issues, code enforcement, homelessness. A second feature of the standing subcommittee is perhaps the chair, another member of the subcommittee, represents us in some of these JPA and extra agency bodies. So if you agreed with that feature, for example, our representative on the continuum of care could be a member of the public safety subcommittee. Because, right, this is the group of people who's got the subject matter expertise. You can envision a public works, roads, and infrastructure subcommittee that kind of bundles a lot of different current subcommittees that the city manager has to figure out how to prioritize. You know, roads, transportation, utilities, beautification, that could all exist under one subcommittee roof. And it'd be a natural place for our MID and San Joaquin Air Board reps to come from. Next slide, please. Then there's kind of the dollars and cents side. I'd envision a finance and economic development subcommittee that combines what's currently the economic development and jobs subcommittee with budget. And then we have a standing subcommittee on South Merced issues that I think is important to carry over so that we can make sure that South Merced issues are raised to the full council and South Merced, they have a seat at the table. But I don't see how to do that without making the South Merced committee a standing committee. But I would propose these 4 as standing committees. Next slide, please. Carry over our existing advisory committees, provided the council re-acknowledges their existence and reaffirms the membership. I think the membership can stay the same. But I think we owe it to our community to tell them that we're continuing to meet in private about these issues. I do think, though, that if you agree with me about the standing subcommittee structure, that we can reduce the amount of ad hocs over time. Because as issues come up at the council table, they'll fit within one of the standing committees. You probably noticed that a couple committees are not on my list. That's because I would view them as being redundant. We've got a downtown committee that may have made sense during the pandemic, but we now have a property-based improvement district that the city sits on that board. I think it's appropriate to delegate, first cut at downtown issues to them. We've got a housing and planning committee, but we have a planning commission. So I don't know that we need to take staff resources and time to continue to have a housing and planning subcommittee. Same thing with Parks and Rec. We've got a Parks and Rec commission. It's their charter job to advise us on parks issues. So I don't know that we need a separate council subcommittee to discuss the same thing. Next slide, please. My timeline, because I do think that we have a habit sometimes of letting these policy discussions go on and on. We're also traditionally setting our subcommittees at the turn of the year. I'd like to come back, working with the city attorney, to propose a formal council policy. I think we're up to C8 to start the year in January. Set our committee staffing towards the end of January, and then act in compliance with the Brown Act from that point. The caveat that what I'm talking about is staff time that may not be budgeted, but also we're coming up on needing to comply with the SB 707 mandates in July. So what I'd ask is that we kind of slow the rollout of the standing committee so that staff has time to get ready for this new structure in line with the SB 707 requirements, and then implement a regular standing subcommittee structure in July or when the council thinks it makes sense. So hopefully I didn't go through that too fast, but I know we're at the end of the meeting. I'm curious to get your feedback and thoughts on the concepts. I'll take any feedback you have. And then I'd like to ask for the authority to come back with a more formal proposal. I'm proposing in January, but we can discuss that as well. So let me just pause there and ask for any questions you might have at this point.
No, thanks, sir. Appreciate the presentation and the thoughtfulness. Any questions at this time for Councilmember Smith? Okay, seeing no questions, proceed. Okay. Councilmember Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. So the standing committee's number of members variable?
Could be, I think, 3 per committee.
3?
So there's 7 of us. We each would be on 3 committees.
Then I guess I would say, if possible, that the 3 members not all be in the same election cycle.
That's a good idea.
Just to avoid that loss of experience.
I mean, part of it too, the South Merced Committee, obviously Foo's on the committee now, but I think just as a policy document, it makes sense that that be reserved for the 3 council districts that have South Merced residents. So that'd be D1, 2, and 5, I think, right now?
I have residents.
Okay, you do too, so that's, part of the discussion.
Okay, additional questions? Do you have more, Shane, or is that a?
I can always keep talking, but no, that's the presentation.
All right. Councilmember DuPont.
I don't have any questions. Unless anybody else has any questions, I'll begin discussion, but.
Please. Go ahead.
I think this is a great idea. I had concerns as well as the Brown Act issues with our subcommittees, but I also think it allows for better communication and conversation between council members and staff, as well as the public, on information that is being received and direction that is moving forward, because I think that transparency is necessary and needed, especially in the subcommittees when you have important issues. I think the issues that you captured are pretty much encapsulate the issues that are always going to be a discussion for us. I very much appreciate the inclusion of South Merced. There's a lot going on in South Merced, so I would advocate for keeping that as well. And then as the advisory committees are understandable, the one that may need to fit into one of these categories is just the ethics and governance piece, because even though we're going through our council policies currently and there's only a limited amount, there's always some form of discussion on ethics and governance for the council and our policies. But overall, I think it's a good idea and a great way to move towards more transparency and discussion of the public. So I'd be in favor of returning on January 5th.
Mayor Pro Tem Boyle.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to do this. I think my biggest, when I was going through this over the weekend, just seeing the subcommittees condensed. There can be some weeks where or over the span of 2 weeks, there's just meeting heavy, and you start to forget what committee you're walking into. So I think this, condensing them will streamline it. I think also the dialogue will be a lot better, especially if it's in the open where people can come and speak up. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
I support this.
Okay, Councilmember Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. Could you go back to the slide with the advisory committees? Nope, the other way. One more. That's it. I absolutely agree with the ethics and governance. I think that should be a standing committee. The trouble with the advisory committees is you have such a topic like high-speed rail authority, and it's a closed loop. We don't ever get feedback to the rest of the council on that, and I get asked all the time, what's going on with high-speed rail? And all I can say is, I don't know. You know, we have a ad hoc committee doing it. The advantage, of course, of the standing committees, it's just going to be a publicly noticed meeting. But there's, I think in the interest of transparency, there's a balance to be had here between strategy that the city may be planning in these issues and what the rest of the council and the public needs to know. So I don't know how we handle that. The traffic committee stuff is easy. You know, we're going to come back and report on that and tell you all what happened. High-speed rail is a little more difficult. I don't know how we bring transparency into that, but I'm open to discussion and suggestions.
I mean, I can take a cut at responding to that. You raise a good point. So the high-speed rail subcommittee of Mayor Serrato, Mayor Pro Tem Boyle, and myself is sort of currently the rail and transportation subcommittee. As it has developed, I think it's fair to say that we've kind of become more like a negotiating team. And in negotiations, oftentimes with your negotiating partner, things have to be kept confidential. That's part of the fast-moving reality of this, that the current subcommittee structure is not geared for. But you raised the right point, and that goes back to me saying that in January, we need to reaffirm this committee's charge and who's on it. High-speed rail also raises some different issues, and you know, this is getting off topic, but yes, I think that as a council, we have to decide very soon when and what we're communicating to our community.
You know, that's one of the things I wouldn't want to change. You've got the expertise and the history behind it, and you don't want to put 3 new people in there.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if at some point, given the litigation potential, that could be a closed session item.
It could. I mean, just to jump in, we don't have anything specific from the authority right now. So there's been a lot of talk, but there's nothing. You know, just for example, there's something like that. But and to your point too, that being an advisory and ad hoc committee, those are, you know, as Councilmember Smith notes in here, those are, you know, they're not subject to the open meeting requirements. So if we, you know, as we do very often, the list of all these committees here, for example, you know, they're advisory only. They're always advisory only. They have to come back to council for a full decision, 3 or less, and then no essentially fixed meeting schedules. All these, you know, for example, are not, you know, as is noted, these aren't subject to the open meeting requirements at all. Councilmember Jean.
Well, I mean, on that topic, first off, and to Councilmember Harris' point, I think it would be important to have closed sessions in which the advisory committees provide update to council and see the rest of council's direction. So with regards to negotiations, that's something that should be brought up to the rest of council during closed sessions, and then direction provided on whichever step to take.
We've had that conversation, I think, in certain, go ahead, Craig, but I think there's only certain things that can be in closed session. So certain times, that's the issue, I think. Go ahead. Better from Craig. So certain times, we can't get it in a closed session because there's no hook to get it in a closed session. And then if you have it in an open session, then that's really problematic because you're dealing with, you know, potential negotiations like we do with, you know, with labor or property negotiations, those sort of things.
You got it.
For once, first test I ever passed.
And then on the rest of what Councilmember Smith brought up here. I agree. I think having standing committees are better than the ad hoc that we tend to do. A few suggestions here. I would like to see it being 2 years rather than 1 year. I think 1 year is really short to develop that expertise. I would like to see it as 2 years, and as Councilmember Harris mentioned, I would personally like to see it alternating between the elections. And so whenever we have the new elections, then we reselect the new committees. And then with that, I would give preference to whoever that has been on here, so seniority on decisions on which committee they would like to be on.
That's interesting.
And it just with regards to your timeline, I would make that 1 year because in 2027, that's the 2-year cycle will start there. With regards to ethics and governance, some of these advisory committees, I think, wouldn't make sense to have standing meetings because sometimes some of these only come up at very specific situations. So I'm not sure if having standing meetings makes sense. And then with regards to some of these advisory committees being shifted over to the, what do we have here called? The proposed standing committees. I think it's important that whoever proposed that specific item be part of, either we make as an ad hoc, or if they're already part of that specific standing committee, it would just be shifted there. I'm not sure if that last part makes sense, but.
I understand what you're saying. I think on many issues, there's some flexibility, because I agree with you. If a council member raises an issue and there's a council majority to push it forward, that person should be able to carry it forward. My thought was that it would still get sent to the committee, so to speak. I think if we create ad hocs because the person whose idea it was isn't on that, the subject matter subcommittee, we're starting to veer back into the ad hocs. But, maybe we use the subject matter jurisdiction as a guideline rather than a hard and fast rule. On the ethics and governance, let me ask both you, Councilmember Zhang, and Councilmember DuPont. I'm not opposed to having that be a standing committee. I was trying to condense it. I do think Councilmember Zhang raises an important point that oftentimes the ethics and governance issues come up kind of sporadically. There's not sort of this need to have a continuing discussion about it. Would it be sufficient to have a standing committee and then that meeting is canceled if there's no items?
Councilor DuPont.
Yeah, I think that would be sufficient. I know right now we're kind of working through all of our council policies to see what needs to be updated. So even though it hasn't been requested by current council, we're trying to bring it back, bring the council policies back to council for possible updating. I mean, some of these policies haven't been reviewed in many years. So,
right.
And it could be, with 2 to 4 meetings a year, yes. I mean, that could be canceled. But I feel like this year we had a lot of ethics and governance issues and it could have just been this year. But I think it's always something that we need to have as just a policy of the council.
I do think that it's sufficient, but we do kind of go back towards not having meetings, especially if again, this year might be the exception, but if we don't have standing meetings, then there's almost no point of having the standing committee if they just routinely get canceled. So I think it's better as a ad hoc, and then whenever that issue comes up, we just reappoint people to it.
It's not the hill I'm going to die on, so that's fine by me.
I don't know if the mayor had any thoughts, but I'll give it some thought.
Yeah, I think the idea that we should have, publicly noticed committee meetings, I think that's a good idea. Some of the details, though, the more we have, if we have just backing up a little bit, the process has to fit the workflow and how the work comes in. And if the work comes in an uneven way, and we've had over the years subcommittees that are kind of dormant for a while, and then other times they're very active. And because there's work, and then after a while, we have subcommittees that haven't met in a long, long time, just because the work's not there. But then at some point, for example, utilities, all of a sudden utilities is going to be a big deal, or pick your issue. So it's got to kind of fit the workflow. Sometimes 2 to 4 meetings a year is going to be woefully insufficient. Other times it'll be too much. So it just varies, I think, depending on it, and the workflow is going to change. There has to be some flexibility. I think it has to be, and the advantage of the subcommittees right now, and the reason we've had immense success with a lot of subcommittees, I think, as well, too, is because they're nimble, and also for all the reasons that Councilmember Smith set forth earlier. But the more we make it look like a city council meeting, then the more it's like, what we just could do it at a regular council meeting instead and have everybody there. So to have set, it's got to fit the workflow, I think. And, to have, Jennifer, if I could go to you real quick, if, for example, you were to notice a subcommittee meeting and it was just, one item, almost like, the agendas we have kind of for town halls where it's just discussion of X, Y, Z. How long does it take to prep that, put it together, find either the Sam Pipes room or another room? This room's busy most nights, so that's going to make that tricky as well, too. But just in terms of the...
if it's one item, depending on who's writing it, it goes through a whole approval process, and it's like multiple staff members that review that admin report. We'd have to have it posted 72 hours prior to that meeting. And then with SB 707 coming in, we'd have to get the whole thing translated. So that's where the time would be the translation. Because
How much time do you think you would need to, say, like, so your city manager says, hey, look, we need to get the traffic committee subcommittee together. How much time would you need to do that?
I'd probably treat it like we would any other regular agenda, where the way we do the agendas is for the December 15th, we have a deadline for this Thursday for all items to get in and into the approval tracking, and that way I can then finalize the agenda by next Wednesday. So it's about between the last council meeting and, there's weeks in between. If people know ahead of time, it depends on when you have it. I guess if it's regularly scheduled, so say it's every 3 months, we'll do one. So we know ahead of time when that meeting is. It's like a hard schedule, just like any other council meeting that we have. It might make it easier, but it's typically about, I'd say like a week and a half, give or take.
Would that make, Scott, would that make sense for the workflow if they were periodically set? Sometimes you have things that you have to get ready for council, or you have to, they're time sensitive.
Mayor, it depends on the level of urgency that you place on an item, and also the context of other things you have going on, right? To Jennifer's point, if you plan things out, that's great. We can plan something in advance to get it on a schedule. It's the context and other things that come up that derail that make it very difficult, right? If you're trying to get a budget, goals and priorities, and other things, and you're trying to work this in, it's problematic. Those are the realities of it. So I think you're better off to schedule these, to plan for them, so we can work it into workflow. And then if you don't end the meetings, you cancel the meetings. And then if you need to have them, you have them. And if you need to have a special meeting for some reason, you can also do that, right? You got flexibility to go all the route. This is a fundamental shift, though, right? We're talking about going from, I hit you guys up by email, we set all the date and we have a meeting, versus you're going to have an agenda and you're going to have minutes, and we're going to have it posted, and there's going to be minutes that have to get ratified by you. It's a big shift. And so we're going to have to talk about resources, right, when it comes to make all these things work. And it's going to be resources probably with some IT resources and some other departmental level resources to kind of do the administrative part to make these meetings work.
So if I could respond to some of those points.
Good.
On the workflow and the flexibility, I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. Part of the justification for this is subcommittees are more nimble. I think City Manager McBride gave me a good suggestion that part of the trade-off for staff is a regular subcommittee or committee structure. Staff can see the meetings coming. They can plan for it. They can know they have to have items ready in their queue to present. As Mr. McBride just said, if an issue comes up in real time, and it's more appropriate for a committee, the committee can have a special session, assuming everybody's available. So I think that flexibility is inherent. In terms of the location and the logistics, I mean, yes, I think giving the subcommittee, the committee, I keep using that word, the committee more prestige, more availability to the public is a part of this. My understanding from our city logistical technology standpoint is that that probably has to happen in this room. I'm not advocating for it to be in this room. If it could happen in Sam Pipes, you know, that would be fine. But I think it's difficult now to broadcast from Sam Pipes, and I don't know what the world looks like after SB 707. So again, this was a staff suggestion to focus on available resources in this room. In terms of City Manager McBride's comment about resources, so yes, I think SB 707 by itself probably is going to require another staff person in the city clerk's office. That's just Shane talking. But you know, the fact that our council needs to grow and mature with our city, and I think that this is a pretty low first step. So, but again, that's also why I had proposed sort of slow playing the implementation to give staff and the budget some time to catch up. I don't want to cut off the discussion, but it's almost 9:10. I feel like I've got direction and comments from folks, and look forward to getting started.
Yeah, that's it. I think I support the general concept. I mean, there's got to be a balance too, and the number of committees. If you have too few, then not enough people get involved. If there's too many, then that's a problem as well. So I think finding a good balance is important. I think that's it. And there's still obviously room for the ad hoc committees on issue-specific items, which I think, again, are really important, as they've been over the past years, to drive certain specific work. So it doesn't take that out.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mayor. I think there's plenty of committees to get involved and stay involved here at the city. But I don't know if City Attorney Cornwell, if you need any formal action for authority to return to the January 5th meeting, if you need a formal motion in a second.
Yes, I think there's a request to provide direction from the councilman's proposal.
I'll make a motion to return January 5th, 2026 regular meeting, and as requested by Councilmember Smith on the proposed council policy C8 and a resolution reaffirming the membership and mission of existing issue-focused advisory committees.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember DuPont and a second by Councilmember Harris. Mayor and council, please cast your votes. Okay, and the motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you, everybody. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith.
Okay,
Jennifer, L3.
agenda item L3, appointment to the Citizen Advisory Focus Group for one member from the Recreation and Parks Commission.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Joseph Bauer resigned from the Community Advisory Focus Group. Looks like we have 3 applicants: Dina Gonzalez, Marissa Lewis, and Sabrina Bong. Jennifer, anything from the public on this?
Well, we don't have anything, but just to keep note that there is one person that is also an applicant for tomorrow's meeting. Just
Yes.
keep that in mind.
Dina? Okay, yeah, Dina Gonzalez is also an applicant for the District 2 Council position. All right, discussion, questions, or a motion? Councilmember Smith.
We should have asked Mr. Valente Huitron, who's the chair of the Parks and Rec Commission, what he thought when he was here. This is very imprecise, guys, but Ms. Gonzalez has made herself a candidate for the D2 slot. I have to assume she doesn't want to disqualify herself from that. Ms. Abong is a stalwart of many commissions, but we've had discussion about giving other people a chance. So that kind of, if you want to just go process of elimination, that gets us to Marissa Lewis.
Okay. Is that a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Pending any discussion, Councilmember Jean.
Quick question. So what are the terms for all 3 individuals on the current commission?
Parks and Rec.
That I don't have.
Jennifer, could you-
Hold on, I can pull it up real quick.
yeah. Chris, you know off the top of your head, when each their terms end?
I mean, just trying to make sure that we don't appoint somebody and then immediately have them have to step down.
That's a very good point.
I think he's saying.
Good evening, council. Both Marissa and the other two applicants outside of, Marissa and the other one that was put forward were recently appointed to the Parks and Rec Commission within the last 4 months.
So, sorry. Yeah, sometimes they get appointed that are short term.
Yeah, so Sabrina Abong, her term ends in 2026, and
Miss Lewis.
Marissa is in 2027.
Okay, what about Dina?
She is 2029.
Okay.
Are they both on their first terms?
Marissa is, I think Sabrina is not. I think she's on her second term.
Okay.
And Dina's in her first term.
And the advisory group here, they're for 2 years approximately?
It's a little
12 to
indefinite,
18
but-
months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little indefinite, but it's going to be, probably till 27, 28. Okay. Councilmember Smith, is that a new one or is that an old request?
It was new. I was just going to say, I flipped through our advisory committee roster last night in preparation for the meeting. We've already appointed people whose terms are going to end during the pendency of the advisory committee. So oops, but I think that problem already exists.
Yeah, sometimes we got just an applicant or two. Okay, so there's a pending motion for Marissa Lewis. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for the question.
We have a motion by Councilmember Smith and a second by Councilmember DuPont. Mayor and council, please cast your votes. Okay, and the motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer.
Okay, agenda item L4, request to add item to future agenda.
Okay, starting on my right, Mayor Pro Tem Boyle.
Nothing this evening.
Councilmember DuPont.
Nothing tonight.
Councilmember Jean.
Nothing.
Councilmember Harris.
Nothing.
Councilmember Smith.
No, thank you.
All right, nothing from me.
Agenda item L5, city council comments.
All right, on my left, Councilmember Smith.
No comments tonight, thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
Two things. The Christmas tree lighting at Bob Hart Square was amazing last night. The turnout was way more than I could have imagined. And if anybody could stay up past 10 o'clock at night, I'd say we have the New Year's Eve celebration there too, but it'd be about 4 people. But it's a great job. Bob Hart Square looks great. That crowd was wonderful. The mayor talked too long, but besides that,
What else?
the tree lit. The tree actually lit when he hit the button, and it was great. The other thing I just wanted to call out was the amazing community generosity at Thanksgiving. Tens of thousands of meals and turkeys were given out, and it was the heart of Merced was on full display. There was just all sorts of organizations and individuals that gave of their time and their resources to make other people's Thanksgiving memorable. That is all.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilmember Jean.
Oh, no, nothing tonight.
Councilmember DuPont.
I have the same comments as to Bob Hart Square. Director Jensen, wonderful job in your direction on Bob Hart Square. And I look forward to seeing Bob Hart Square and Main Street packed for Saturday's Christmas parade, and excited for the Christmas season.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Boyle.
Nothing this evening.
All right. Yeah, last night was great. I went to the mall on Black Friday. The mall was busy, which was really good. So hopefully lots of sales tax revenue coming in, but it took, just to get food, it took 30 minutes. So that was pretty exciting to to see the mall that busy, and it's really had a good feel to it. And then one last thing, we had a number of high school teams win section championships. So when that happens, they all ask to come to council. So there's a number of teams. We're going to do one thing we kind of mentioned on our ethics committee is potentially having a special meeting once in a while for recognitions. So we're going to call a special meeting December 16th at 5:30. We'll honor LCAP tennis, girls tennis, Merced High girls flag football, and then Merced High boys and girls water polo both won section championships, and the girls won NorCal. So really exciting. We'll have them all there. And Mike, I know you mentioned too at some point some other items too you might want to bring, but if there's anything, any recognitions, anything people want to bring that night, we can do them all that night and maybe get them off some of the other council meetings as well. So it'll be a good night of recognition on December the 16th. Make it if you can, and they'll start at 5:30. That's all for me.
Agenda item M, adjournment.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Boyle and a second by Councilmember DuPont. Mayor and council, please cast your votes. And the motion passes unanimously.